T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes,
Tell 'em.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
you are now tapped in. Oh shoot! I forgot to do something. Way to go! You are now tapped into the coolest sort of reptile podcast in the world. I'm your boy MJ, and tonight it's a very special podcast indeed. I am next to Garrett Hartle, the man himself. Reach Out Reptiles. How are you doing, Garrett?
Oh, man, I'm on the coolest reptile podcast in the world. So that's how I know I finally arrived.
I can't
Thanks
believe
for having me, dude.
I mean,
It's been
dude,
fun.
you know damn well. Okay, I'm talking. You know, we're gonna bring him up this early, but Forrest, rest in peace. I was talking about getting you on the podcast pre-Trap Talk with MJ. Like, I remember hitting you up, asking you if you would come on Unfiltered. And do you remember what you responded with?
What's that?
If you're ready for me to argue with Forrest the whole time,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
then come on. If I'm down, and I was like, yeah. But you know, who was not ready for you to come on was Forrest. 'Cause I think you had the kind of argument where Forrest couldn't really like push for. Like, you probably had solid points where
Forrest and I are both like more opinionated than we are educated,
right.
but we both know just enough to be dangerous. So it's a lot of fun. So no, we had some pretty epic arguments, Forrest and I, which I mean, it was all in good fun. He was like a very good friend. So
Right.
yeah, that was good times, man. I miss that guy.
So we're in a new facility of yours. I mean,
Yeah.
how long has it been now since you've been in here?
A few months. Like we moved in on like October. Yeah.
Okay.
So November, December, January.
Huge adjustment.
Oh,
Biggest
I mean,
ever?
I was showing you like where I sit, my office and closet
Right.
is the size of my entire business was in my house. So,
Right.
I mean, we had outgrown. I was a year and a half behind when I wanted to move out,
Right.
but yeah, just with the growth of the business, you got to make those decisions. And I ended up with COVID, like hiring staff before I got the facility. That was the opposite of what I planned to do.
Right.
But when everybody was out of work, I was able to snag up some, like you met Rob. So I was able to snag up some really good employees. And that's
Shout out
what
to
you gotta
Rob.
do.
Rob
Yeah.
is a fucking amazing guy, which can't wait to talk about him in a bit. But before we move forward, guys, I just want to say this episode is only possible because of one man and one man only, and that's going to be Eric Lee from Eric Lee.
yeah, he is.
You know, that's what his choice. I'm like, hey, yo, Eric, what's your brand? What's your logo? Eric Lee. All right. You want me to say, is that what you want me to go by? Yeah, Eric Lee. All right, sounds good.
Yeah, you got to be a real man to roll with your own name.
But I mean, I listen, you two, including Andrew. But I mean, if you want to talk about the pillars, the fucking kings in the Super Dwarf game, you're looking at two of them right here. And I don't know if it's just the way Eric's looking at you in this pick, but
we
I feel
love
like he
each
knows
other.
it. I feel like there's a crazy mutual like respect right here.
Oh,
going on.
100%. Yeah.
But thank you, Eric. I appreciate you so much. And I just feel like I couldn't find any better person to sponsor this episode than Eric Lee, in my opinion.
No, Eric's the freaking man. Yeah. So no, I'd been out to his place years ago.
Right.
I mean, you guys were asking how we met, and I was like, well, he had awesome super doors. So I called him. I was like, we need to be friends now. You know what I mean? Like, you have obviously like top-notch, awesome stuff. So when I set out to do it, we were kind of building a niche within the industry.
Right.
There wasn't a Superdorf game or anything before that. Right. So I was like, hey, I want to do some big things with Superdorfs. You know what I mean? And you're doing it right. So before I want to nip this in the bud, before it gets into the whole, let's all trash talk each other online stage, we all need to get to know each other. So I did a lot of travel. I went out to Andrew's place, went out to Eric's place, you know what I mean? And, just been talking them up ever since. So.
Yeah. I mean, so let me ask you this. I mean, I remember coming across your channel, like fucking when I first got into this, and I could tell you right now, man, you have some of the content that is so like kind of a 4-year-old can understand what the hell you're saying. You know what I mean? Like you have a way of breaking things down to a point where it's like not second down or hand me down information. This is like experience from your own like work. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you said that second part. It wasn't just 4-year-old level information.
No. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is a lot of stuff that you break down. I feel like the reason why it's so easy to understand is because you literally went through it. Like you're basically sharing your own experience. And
absolutely.
That's the best teacher. You know what I mean? I feel like
sometimes I try to share what was happening as we grew. Like, so, I came in, it was really about 2017 that I hit the scene as far as like starting to advertise. Here, give me some of that. That looks pretty good. The Snoop Dogg wine.
Yeah. Sure, shout to Snoop.
There you go. What's up? He's going to sponsor the next one.
Yeah, I hope so.
So I'll send you a couple cases.
They're not cheap, Snoop.
Yeah, so that was like 2017, and I was building the business, so I shared a lot of business stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? But nobody had really known me. I'd been working with the Superdoors for a long time before that, and a lot of the like people in the professional, reptile scene who were working behind the scenes knew who I was because I was involved. Right. But I'd never advertised myself for myself. I was always building other people up. You know what I mean? Like either breeding and supplying animals to other people who would sell, or down to like, prehistoric pets or whatever. I was the sales manager there. So, So I hadn't done it on my own, but bringing them along with me. And it's funny sometimes, like if you're really into whatever you're passionate about, it's easy to leave other people behind in conversation. And I didn't want that. I was trying to open it up for everybody. You know what I mean? Like let everyone know how cool these animals were. Right. So we actually have a new guy, Tim, who's like, I like snakes. I want to work for you. And he's like washing dishes for us and stuff now.
G.I. Joe?
No, Tim.
Oh, Tim's different.
Yeah, he helped. No, we have 9 employees now.
Oh my gosh, killing it.
Yeah, but so Tim is he's part-time. He's just washing dishes. You know what I mean? Like 2 days a week.
Literally the grunt work. Like he's
absolute grunt work. And he's like, yeah, for real. Like he always says, literally, I'm going to be the best Superdorf breeder someday. And I'm like, good job, man. You're like, good luck. You got to beat me. So, but I'll teach you everything I know. That's cool. So he comes in and learns. We already talked about going through a series where he's like, man, I've been trying to learn. I've been watching all your videos. And then you start talking about locality and genetics and you just lose me. And I was like, we should sit down and rewatch a video and be like, stop right there. What the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, that means this and that means that. So because he has that fresh set of glasses.
So everything's
at it for the first time. Yeah. So I could break it down even further through his perspective. So we try to, just utilize that kind of stuff so we can get it for everybody.
And it's the respect I have with a species like super dwarf, where like it should hurt your brain. Like it shouldn't be something that is so easy to comb over and be like, oh yeah, I got this down. No, man, like this is the kind of species where it's going to take fucking hours of you digging in to realizing what's the purpose of these super dwarfs, like as far as like why you push them so hard, why you believe in them so hard.
Yeah.
And you're the only one, not the only one, I take that back, but I'm just saying you're one of the strong, like one of the front men as far as holding the value behind super dwarf. What is a true super dwarf?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that tickled a lot of other people's feathers, especially people who weren't actually working with the real super dwarfs, because a lot of that started getting mixed with. Like I told you, one of your videos that saved me was when you were explaining what makes a super dwarf and why are these super dwarf, and literally saying it's a marketing term. Like it's you openly said that. Like you're not scared to say that's what it is. But at the end of the day, these come from an island where food is scarce. Like it's not available.
They've got the island effect going on. So something that usually blows up mammals and shrinks down reptile. Or no, it's the opposite. They blow up the reptiles and like Komodo dragons shrink down mammals. Right. Except uniquely among super dwarves, it's had the opposite effect.
So, and also I want to go ahead and get this out of the way now. Not that it needs to get out of the way, but I want people to understand like your history with Retics. You know, like I don't know how many people know this, but you lived in Indonesia for how long? Or what? I mean, let's kind of talk about your time there.
Yeah. So like I moved out there when I was 19. I came back when I was 20. So I was there for a little over a year. The first time I moved out, I've been back 7 times since then. So, but that was kind of fun. That's what I did instead of go to college. You know, I went out. funny enough, I went out as a college professor. I think I told you that I was touring and teaching cross-cultural
English, how to teach English, right?
Yeah. So I used to always tell people like the only college classroom I've ever been in, I was the professor. Type of a deal, you know what I mean? Because I don't have a college degree to this day.
That's so funny. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I went out there and lived with them. And I mean, if you look at where all the cool stuff that you like in the reptile trade comes from, it's all Indo. Yeah. It's all Indonesian stuff, you know? So it's just a mind-blowing amount of diversity. It's such a crazy country. I had planned to like kind of live all over the world. I just wanted to hit country after country. Then you get to this one country that like on a map, it's about the size of the US. You know what I'm saying? Like plus oceans and stuff in there or whatever. But that one country has 17,000 islands, 350 distinct languages. You know what I mean? And even more cultures and subcultures within that. And you can go from one island, like, no, you've had experience with Komodos, but not on the island, right?
Right.
When you go to Komodo Island, it's like a desert, kind of looks like Southern California, palm trees, you know? Right. And then you just go to Flores, like the next one over, and it's like jungle.
Jungly, yeah.
It's like, what the heck? It's so weird. So I was like, man, I can literally spend the rest of my life here just finding cool Indo reptiles and you know, constantly get that sense of adventure or whatever that I was going for. So.
Because I mean, you gotta understand, man, that the corner of the cob trick is like that's something that draws you back and wonder, where did you learn something like that?
Yeah, you're talking about biting the snake's tail to get it to let you go. Chew on it like corn on the cob.
Dude, I learned it worked. Once I saw you do that on your video, and got, you know, this is after my dad took 17 stitches. So like, I wish I would have found out before, but I mean, you know, my dad did the biggest mistake ever. He pulled his hand away. He didn't stay there and take it. So God bless you, Dad. I know you're
your
man.
Dad's the man.
He's a man. Even though you revved hard during an important conversation between him and Rami, but Garrett still loves you.
I forgive you.
Yeah. But you know, like, dude, that literally got wrapped. Like, I got, you know, nerve damage in my pinky, but no stitches or anything. I got wrapped. I remember I was calm about it. It literally wrapped around my hand, solid as hell.
Wow, scary.
Grabbed the tail. And not even hardly any pressure. Just I literally put my mouth on it and just little.
No, you don't have to do it hard. It's like when you're in a bar fight. I've said this too many times. That people
I got your nuts.
It doesn't matter how big the guy is. Yeah, you stick your thumb up his butt and he's crying in the corner. He is done. That fight is over. You know, you don't have to be hard. You just a little tip of your finger up his butt and he's done.
And if it's not over, then it tells you what kind of guy he is.
But that's how the snakes are. They're very ticklish about their tails. So if you go, you know, they drop it. But you're right. Yeah, I learned that in Indonesia. That's a little bit of, you know, kind of like bush wisdom, I guess.
And, you know, I think you've seen firsthand how animals look like in the wild versus captive bred. You know, like I think you talked about the Komodo looking fucking jacked, you know, like chest open, you know.
When you see them, they're impressive. But then when you go see them in the wild, like, you know, when you go to the zoo, they're pretty impressive. Right. Then you go to the wild and you're like, dude, those zoo ones look like salamanders.
Right.
These things out here look like, you know, American pit bulls. You know what I mean? Right. It's just like, geez Louise.
So let's talk about, you know, obviously you spent some time in Indo. What was the influence or what was the motivation to come back to the States? Like what was the, were you just done with what you're doing? Or
no, I almost died. I was very unhealthy. I did everything wrong. I had typhoid.
Everything wrong.
I had typhoid fever. I had malaria. So I had a really bad bout of something that went undiagnosed. The year is 2004 and it was in December right before Christmas. And I woke up tied to a bed frame because I'd spent 3 days in delirious fever.
You had no idea what was going on.
And I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I just like, there's a body mark behind me from my sweat and oil in the bed. And the family I was staying with was like, oh yeah, you've had this fever, and you were like freaking out and throwing punches and saying all kinds of stuff. I don't remember any of it from whatever kind of fever I had. So they tied me to the bedpost, and I'm like, help, help. They're like, are you okay? I was like, oh, someone tied me to the bed. They're like, yeah, that was us. So I woke up. That was Christmas Eve, 2004. And I actually have a video you can see. So I'm about 200 pounds right now. When I got out of high school, I was a football player. I was actually a lineman.
right.
And so I was like I was like a buck 85, but like pretty stout, all muscle. Now I'm a little, got my COVID-19 on the belly.
COVID
right
belly.
Yeah, exactly. But I went from 185 to 135 after like 6 months of being there, just from being sick. So, 135 pounds, I'd lost more, more than a third of my weight or whatever. Right. So there's a video of me just looking like a little skeleton. And that was the day before Christmas. The reason why that's significant, if anyone pays attention to world events, is that the day after Christmas, 2004, the tsunami hit.
Jesus.
So I had just lost a ton of weight. I had, malaria. I was still kicking and everything. And then the tsunami hit. And it was crazy because I don't know how much you want to go into the story, but like all the money that was being spent there was being like, divvied up by a corrupt government.
Right.
So I told all my American friends, I was like, look, if you want to give money, there was a huge financial outpouring of people to help the tsunami victims.
Right.
I said, if you want to give money, I'll coordinate a trip. And I just had a ton of money flow out. So I actually hired like 4 semi trucks, and I was on the second plane to touch down in Banda Aceh after the tsunami, which was the epicenter of the quake. That was the day after Christmas it hit. I was in there. I think it was like 3 days later or something like that. I showed up and I did a week's worth of relief effort. And, we had spent those 4 semi trucks full of medicine and food in the first afternoon. Like, it just didn't even make a dent. Later, the American Red Cross showed up, and U.S. military this was pretty crazy to see. They brought a nuclear submarine, which I didn't even know this, but nuclear submarines convert saltwater to fresh. And they had this giant hose that was like just blasting fresh water because there were so many bodies and stuff in the rivers and everything that they're all rotten. There's no fresh water anymore.
Oh my God.
So yeah. So like, that's the kind of situation we were dealing with. We couldn't even get our trucks in without the help of elephants to clear the path to get the trucks in from the nearby area. Anyway, I was there for, it was like 7 to 10 days. And like the worst thing is when nobody has any food and everyone's dying and starving around you.
Right.
How do you eat? How can you you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I kept a couple like oatmeal packets, like, the little quick.
Literally, yeah.
And I would take these water bottles and I'd put a little bit of oatmeal packet in, shake it up and
drink
it. And I did that for about a week. And then I had already lost all that weight before then and everything. And I was just, after that first day, I was like, I'm here for like, I can't remember how many days it was. It was somewhere from 7 to 10 days. But all I did was I was like, well, I'm young. I have a strong back. So I just picked up bodies. We put them in bags on the sides of the street, and dump trucks would take them to a mass grave. So I just did that for a week straight, just digging bodies out of the debris, pulling them out of the river, all that kind of stuff. So after that, I was emotionally, mentally, physically spent. You didn't know we were getting into this, did you?
What the fuck? I did
and
not
I was
know.
Like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die if I don't go to America. And so I got the next flight home, and my own mother was picking me up in the airport. She didn't recognize me. I was just so far gone because I just spent myself completely in every way. So I just laid around and got fat and figured out what to do next with my life. So never did end up moving back.
Gosh,
yeah, it was crazy.
Nuts, bro.
Crazy times.
I just thought it was just about reptiles.
Sorry.
Oh my, no. But listen, at the end of the day, this is what made Garrett Hartle. Like, you gotta understand, like, everything has a purpose behind it. And I feel like you're just not somebody created off fucking the internet. Like, you're not somebody who met somebody who gave you these snakes, and now you're like, oh God, I'm gonna turn this into something. Like, I felt like, I always say this: if you're meant to work with animals, things land in your lap.
Oh no, that's
And I'm a true believer of the man up top,
Yeah.
But listen, at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, there's a purpose of you leaving Indo and that perfect timing. Like,
oh yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean?
I think so. I remember thanking God while I was there that it was me that was there and not some of my friends and family, because I was like, I don't know who's gonna be able to kind of handle that.
Right.
You know, that's a lot to handle. But
It
to your point about like if you're meant to do something, it falls in your lap. I avoided getting into the reptile industry forever. I love animals.
Well, tell me a little bit more behind that. I want to know more, like, especially because back then you were avoiding, right? Or
my whole life, right up until Reptile Reptiles was founded. I didn't ever want to like make a paycheck with reptiles.
oh, you mean as far as a business
Yeah.
side? But you've
Yeah.
always loved reptiles.
I did it for fun. I played with business on the business side when I was a teenager. So like I started commercially breeding when I was 14.
Right.
And leopard geckos were it back then. This is the 90s.
Yeah.
I'll date myself, but I paid $5,000 for a male blizzard lizard. And I bred it to all these females and I just made the money, made the babies and I sold them to other breeders who would distribute from there.
Right.
And by the time I was 16, I was able to like roll up like a baller with a briefcase full of money and buy my first car, you know what I mean, with my grandfather and stuff. So I felt pretty good about myself. So that was when I did that, but really it was just a hobby. I didn't want there's easier ways to make money. You know,
I mean, there's over a million ways to make money.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just
You know
too
what I mean?
easy. So I've had all kinds of jobs, but I've always had the reptiles. And
Where have you been the happiest?
yeah, reptiles. It really is. Like I said, I just ran away from it because it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, hey, I want to do this. And everyone's like, you might need to get a real job, kid. Like
Of
that's
course.
not a real thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I can see that, so I just didn't do it. And even when I was working for Prehistoric Pets or whatever, I was cutting out, Jay Brewer was paying my paycheck every week. I didn't have
You
any.
made Jay a lot of money, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he put me in the place to do that. Like he had a machine going over there. You know what I mean? He does to this day. Guy's crushing it on social
But
media.
I think we talked thousands of snakes you sold at Prehistoric for him, right? Like,
Well, it was good timing. So like
Right.
his wife told me later, like that was during like major. You remember like the downturn 2008, and the market was really bad.
about snakes?
No,
Oh, just the housing.
globally.
Oh,
Housing
globally. Oh,
market
period. Yeah,
kicked it off in
Yeah,
California,
huge,
especially.
Yep.
And everybody was upside down. So
Yep.
I came in right at the end of 2009, and they were like on the verge of bankruptcy. They'd mortgaged everything they had because, I mean, you can say what you want about Jay, but he's sold out for reptiles for sure. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so, I came in and just, I had seen like these piles and piles of amazing animals that they had. And I was like, how are you not making money? And I just started getting excited about them and talking to people. And I was supposed to be the ball python feeder when I started there.
At Jay's?
Yeah, I was just getting, which is funny. I'm allergic to rats. I hate rats.
Oh
and
my
I
God,
couldn't,
that's hilarious.
honestly, I couldn't care less about ball pythons. Like,
Right.
I appreciate what they do in the industry.
Okay.
We need them. You know what I mean? But
Right.
me personally, I don't really care. So I was just feeding them, and he just used me to say like, "Hey, this one looks like it's ovulating or whatever," because I knew that stuff.
Right.
But I wanted to be the sales guy. So I ended up. He went on vacation, and he said, "Can you answer my emails for a week?" And so I drafted up an email and said, "Hey, my name is Garrett. I'm the new sales manager."
Right.
And I sent it to all his customers, his entire email list. And I was like, I just want to let you, and I was not the sales manager. I was just answering emails for a week.
Right.
I was a ball python feeder, but I was kind of like a jack of all trades type of guy. Right.
Right.
So I was like, I'm the new sales manager here. Whatever you need, you let me know. And everyone's like, oh, good. I was actually thinking about this because we sent it out to tens of thousands of people.
Right.
His entire email list from 25-year-old business. I just, let me introduce myself. I'm here to help you. And I just started selling snakes. And by the time he got back, I'd made so much money. They're like, well, he gets to stay in that desk. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
But Becky told me, Jay's wife told me 3 months later, she's like, you've already made in these 3 months the amount of money that we've made in the last 3 years during this depression. So you can stay.
Yeah, we got a spot for you.
Yeah. But I think it was just, they just didn't have the right person in the right place. That's all it was. It wasn't really like anything crazy that I did other than taking liberties. And
Well, I feel like everything, things get put into your lap for a reason. And I feel like you got put
that was
into
kind of my point. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Real quick, guys, with all due respect, if you're just now tapping in, welcome. Do me a huge favor, and especially Garrett, hit that like button. Because I know I'm not seeing 45 likes out of 90 people watching when we have Garrett Hartle just fucking 25 minutes deep, and this guy just dropped a story where I want to cry right now. But listen, guys, let's get the likes
We're gonna
up.
bare our
please.
souls tonight. It's gonna be good.
I'm being very nice right now. Let's get the likes up from my man Garrett. I really appreciate it. But okay,
Thanks, guys.
so tell me a little bit more about what the experience did for you working at Prehistoric Pets, because you did see a lot of the sales side of things, And even at that time, with the amount of money that you saw that was coming in, you still didn't want to sell animals. Like you were like, even though you were selling animals for Jay, like I think anybody would be like, why don't I make money like this for myself? And,
Oh no, yeah.
And you were just like okay with just selling snakes for him and not wanting a piece of that
I
big ass.
I was chicken shit. I just didn't want to take the. It's one thing. It's like, yeah, maybe you can make a lot of money, or maybe you'll fail miserably.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'll just take my salary, my steady, regular paycheck coming in. I'll do my job because that's work ethic, just general. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I don't want the responsibility of it. What I liked was being able to go home at 5 p.m. and put the phone down and go to town. The problem was dealing with his customers, and he's got overseas customers. I was taking calls all times of the night, and it just ended up being like, I'm like acting like a business owner.
But one man.
But that's exactly what I don't want to do.
Yeah,
I just want to I always said, for me, when I was growing up, everyone said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, husband and father. The rest is just details. You know what I mean? So I'll work at an assembly line and a box factory from 9 to 3 if I get to go home and barbecue and hang with my kids and have the lifestyle that I want. That's pretty simple.
That's what
you know what I mean? I like my kids. I just want to chill. You know what I mean? And do my thing.
It drives me nuts.
So,
I'm saying this now because I don't have them, but man, I really want kids, bro. Like, I don't know. I just
when you have your first kid and you look at them, you're like, what was I wasting my time on up until now? Nothing actually mattered until right now.
You know, the reason why I know that is because the way I was brought up, I was loved. You know what I mean? Like I had parents my family that just loved me, you know?
Oh, and your dad was crying, talk about how much he loved you at that barbecue at your place.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's a little much. You know what I mean? Oh my God.
No, it's good though, man.
But honestly, I like that. The fact that you just said that right now, because, I remember as a kid, people asking me like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
But all I ever wanted was family. Like I want what I want what I have.
That's
that
good.
Day.
I mean,
that's crazy that you say that.
I think you realize what matters because the job doesn't make the man. That doesn't matter at all.
No, it doesn't.
So what I didn't want was the responsibility. If you're going to be a family man, I didn't want to fail my family. That was my big fear.
Right.
What if I don't make enough money?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, what pushed me into it ultimately was my wife, Ashley. She was like halfway pregnant with our 4th kid, and she wanted to leave my corporate.
How do you go halfway pregnant? What is?
No, like
what do you mean?
Halfway.
Like she was at the sperm was halfway
pregnant.
in. Like what do you?
Well,
mean?
I have hemipines, so no.
There's two.
There's 2 of those. No. She was halfway through her pregnancy.
Okay.
Of my 4th kid. So she's like, yeah, let's try this on her own. I was like, we're going to lose our health insurance. We're going to, like, are you nuts? And she's like, you always go out there. So I'm like, sales is one thing. Business development is another. She's like, you're always building businesses. And I've done it in a bunch of different industries because the principles are all the same. You know what I'm saying? You got to find your target audience. You have to figure out what their problem is, and you have to bring the solution. That's what you do. You find you're helping solve people's problems wherever you're at.
I think you help business mature is what you do. I mean, because anyone could open up a business. Why not? But
sure,
business maturity is the biggest thing behind that. Like, how do you get your business to get to the next level? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest gigs to this day is a restaurant business. You know what I mean? Opening up a restaurant. You know, and like honestly, what would we do without restaurants? I fucking love restaurants, but one of the hardest things to keep open is a restaurant.
I believe it. I haven't tried that one yet, but that would be fun. One of my cousins is a really good cook. The guys who come out here to Retic Fest know how good a cook he is.
Okay.
But he actually cooked at one of my aunts owns a resort in Jamaica, and he cooked there for years. He learned it. So he's always like, I should set up he's Jamaican. I should set up a Jamaican restaurant here in Pittsburgh. He lives here
Jamaican spots in San Diego, kill it.
I was like, freaking do it. It'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll hire you, cater every event. You know what I mean? Like whatever help you need, I'd love to do it. But he'll kill it because the product that he has is amazing. So all he needs is what is very easy is the business application of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So most people don't have like that unique product skill and ability, and then also the ability to monetize it.
Yeah.
That's the tough part.
So unique product. I mean, let's talk about the super dwarfs, man. Because I love it. But listen, at the end of the day, I want to know, you left Prehistoric Pets. When you left Prehistoric Pets, was already a super dwarf mission at that moment, or like what to kind of explain the next journey after prehistoric? Like what happened right after that?
Yeah. So I was in my like mid 20s when I was working at prehistoric. But I got my first pure Jampea locality retic when I was like 15 years old. So I'd been working with them already for a decade at that point. And Jay had some cool super doors like hanging in there, but they were like old wild caught stuff. He didn't really like focus on them or breed them. They weren't his thing. He was like, retics are supposed to be big.
Yeah, he wants the big ones.
Right. If I wanted small snakes, I do ball pythons. And that was everybody's attitude back then.
Right.
And I was like, but retics are freaking awesome outside of the size, right? Their minds,
just personalities.
Their personalities are awesome. You can't kill them. They're so
fucking
resilient.
tanks, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's true.
They have the most beautiful colors of almost any wild caught animal. And then a million morphs on top of that.
Right.
Like ball python morphs, like I'm not in that industry. So when I go to a show every 6 months, it's like all new to me.
Right.
I walk in, I'm like, holy crap, look what they're doing with ball pythons. These are like already surpassed koi, which they've been working on for thousands of years.
Right.
But if you look at a normal ball python, it's a dirt colored snake. It's just brown and black with not really any distinct pattern or anything. You look at a retic, and I mean, they're so beautiful. Everyone uses them for the leather trade.
Right.
People are putting them on their purses, their boots, their hats. They're like, it's right up there with a leopard skin. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
one of the prettiest natural patterns.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know. I always bugged him to get into the dwarfs. And back then I didn't care as much about the size either, but I still said, 25% Jampea in anything is like the magic sauce just to sexy it up.
Just a dash.
Jamps look so good. You know what I mean? Clean and bright and beautiful.
But with all due respect, Jamps are one of many things that just make things look so much better. Like, and what I mean, like, is like you have one thing I love that we talked about earlier was how you have like Slayer or like, what was okay, you had something going into a Carampa. What did you just have going to a Carampa?
Oh, the Bantang, the Sulawesi.
Yes, Sulawesi, yes.
Right, the goat.
So
I have them here. You want to see them?
Yeah, sure. Oh, here we go. You guys are, okay, the likes better get up. We better get to 80 likes right now. If he's about to show something so amazing, please, guys, do it right now. Please.
Let me make sure I get this lid on here or they're all going to come running out. All right. Yeah, so for a lot of people, there's nothing like a cherry-picked, yellow-head, Sulawesi retic. Now, this is a baby, so he hasn't even grown into his yellow yet.
Right.
Because these are like carpet pythons, like a jungle carpet python is just gray or brown. And then when they're like vibrant yellow. But you can already see on this guy, like the color, the contrast, those chubby cheeks. Look at those freaking chub.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So thick. So we called this the goat line, like greatest of all time.
For
what
sure.
we did was, we already had the theory of taking mainland morphs, like albinos and tigers and whatever, and shrinking them down using the superdwarf localities. But I said, what if we took a locality and shrank it down using superdwarfs? So I took a Sulawesi male. And this was really hard to do because they're big.
Yeah.
But you can breed them fairly young. So I was like, all right, we're just going to, we're going to catch this guy at exactly the right time. Because the female, after she laid eggs, she weighed, let me think, it was like 2,300 grams after laying. So tiny, like right there, ball python size.
Right.
So I had to catch her at exactly the right time when the male was small enough to breed her, but fertile, as a mature adult. And so we made these because I was like, let's shrink probably the most epic locality in reticulated pythons for those of us old timers that are like, oh yeah, yellowhead Sulawesi, that'd be so cool.
Right.
And his temperament is great. All the wild caught Sula stuff I've had are like, oh yeah, don't let the neighbors hold that one. You know what I'm saying? So this is just, he's just absolutely the greatest snake that I could do. And when this guy is like, they really start to color up at like 2.5, 3 years old. This guy's 3 years old. It's going to be awesome.
So what's the exact breakdown on this snake? Like if you were to label it, what would it be labeled percentage-wise and all that?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So, we have 100% of the locality data on this one because there's never been any morphs.
The female's 100%,
So his father was the first ever captive bred Bantang region Sulawesi. So that's like a micro-specific locality. Not only is it Sula, but it's from the Bantang region.
Right.
Which have like a more flowy, bold black stripes. I selected that because it's the most opposite of super dwarf. And then the mom, I wanted the really high saddle count and small size of the Kalatoa, of the Carampa, which is kind of the king of super dwarfs.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never spend a Carampa female on this project, making this basically a mutt, right? So, so I had a female that someone else had already bred that was 50% Kalatoa, 50% Carampa. and pure Superdorf, and I bred her to that Banteng male. And so he's 50% Banteng Sula, 25 Calicoa, 25 Caramba.
Oh my God, it's
So,
amazing.
But the idea is chubby cheeks, thick yellow head, bold black pattern, tiny snake. You know what I mean? And that's what's cool about Superdorfs. There's almost no reptiles out there. You can pick color and pattern, and then basically when you decide what you want to get, you're going for species.
Right.
Like, oh, I love boas, but they're a little too big, so maybe I'll get a carpet python. You know what I'm saying? Or I like ball pythons, but they don't have enough oomph to them, so I need a blood. But with retics, because they are kind of the perfect species,
They are.
and now you can pick any size you want. I think they lend themselves, if there was ever such a thing as truly domesticating a reptile,
Right.
they're going to be it. Like a true domesticated reptile.
Matt, not that one.
So
Don't share that one, please. But yes, I agree. Now, let me ask you this, though, Garrett, because at the end of the day, like with what you show, like, you know, this isn't as easy to get like as of a ball python morph, right? Like this snake that we're talking specifically.
no,
Like a lot of this stuff is so untapped, it's ridiculous.
right.
Like, you are finding a lot of this shit out as we speak.
Yeah. Well, so like his grandfather was pure Carampa. He's one of, at the time, there's only known to be 2 male Carampas in the country.
Right.
His father was from the first and only pairing of Bantangs. They did repeat the pairing one time, but they were the same 2 animals. So only twice have pure Bantangs ever been bred in the United States.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and then there was only a couple clutches ever made with those Carampas crossed into Calicoas. So it's rare to rare to rare. But you know how I picked his dad? I wanted like the nicest Bantangs. They were bred by Jonathan Hoflick, right?
He's Jonathan Hoflick. I never heard it. I mean, it's crazy. I've heard a lot of
a local boy out here in Pennsylvania.
respect.
You won't find him in the Superdorf forums and stuff. He's not online. He didn't do any of that stuff. Those of us who know, we gravitate. Jonathan Hoflick, you're more likely to find him out there with a set of waders on looking for hellbenders in the creeks to help do scientific studies. But he had a bunch of crazy retics. Yeah. So he is responsible for breeding the Bantangs.
Okay.
And I told him, I was like, man, I need them, but I know they don't color up till later. And this is a very specific, very important project that I have in mind of shrinking down these Sulas. So
Right.
what I did was he had 37 babies, something like that. I bought them all. I bought the whole clutch so I could watch them all grow up to pick out the perfect one to breed to this. And then there's only a couple breedings ever of those Carampa Calicoa crosses. The mom was produced by Rick O'Neill. And so he wouldn't sell one to me back in the day, but he did sell one to another guy.
When you say back in the day, just give me an idea. What year are we talking about here?
Oh gosh, when was she hatched? It was probably 7 or 8 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm
2015.
saying? Yeah. And I don't think nobody knew who I was at the point, but it's like, hey, can I have one of those? It's like, no, then I'm keeping them all. But there was one that he let out, and I traced it from owner to owner to owner. And it ended up with JT Tomlinson, someone who also worked at
JT Tomlinson. What do you know? Yeah, JT.
Yeah. So he also worked at Prehistoric Pets. He actually had my job 2 or 3 people after I left there at Prehistoric.
JT was, I had just got into the game when JT was still around with Prehistoric Pets, like 2017, right? Was when he left.
Yeah.
That's right when he left. Right.
Probably. Yeah. So I used that connection to work it and be like, I need that female. You know what I mean?
Shout out to JT, by the way. I've actually talked to the guy a couple of times, and it sucks. I know. Good dude, man. Wherever you're at, I hope you're killing it, bro. And shout out to JT. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. But if you want to build the industry, everybody tries to always make it about themselves.
They do.
You know what I mean? And one of the things that
listen up to this real quick. Go ahead.
One of the things with Superdoors is like, I want to know the history and I want to share it. You know what I mean? So we're talking about Rick O'Neill. We're talking about Jonathan Hoflick. We're talking about JT. We're talking about all the players and stuff that made this kind of stuff happen. And those are all people who were willing to help. Were willing to do their part. You know what I mean? Like with Hoflick caring enough to make these pures and not just breed it to an albino or whatever, even when there may or may not be any market for it.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
So anyway, there's so much history, and it's like, I can hand you this snake and you probably wouldn't appreciate it all that much. But if I tell you everything that went into it, and I can tell you how exciting of a lifelong dream and journey this particular animal was, and how we crafted those bloodlines over time using my different network and it's the people that I know, it just adds so much more value and intrigue to the animal.
But let's talk about how easy you're making it for people to track your productions with a fucking simple hashtag.
Oh yeah,
That
that was
is
fun.
nuts.
Yeah,
That is nuts. And let's kind of talk about like the reasoning behind all that, and because I think that's a lot what a lot of people could do for their own production.
Yeah, so we have a lot of crazy ideas. Again, it goes back to like, what is the problem and how can I find a solution?
Right.
So the problem I saw was that, if you bred a snake, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's a trap talk bloodline, whatever. But you only you bought the parents from someone else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yes,
it goes deeper than
that.
Right.
But like, who did the parents come from and where did they come from? And I love that kind of history to it. The other thing with Super Dwarves is, I want to learn, I want to share the information. And if I only know how big the few snakes that I kept, because if you look at like what I keep versus what I've produced, it's a very small number. I want to know everything about all my bloodlines. And I'm fine if everyone else knows it too. And if it's not right, let's fix it. Let's get it better. Let's keep selective breeding and go towards our end goal. So what I did was, we have a certain number of clutches. Last year, we had 37 clutches come through. If you go on reachourreptiles.com, you can go to the 2021 breedings and you'll see these little hashtag CL for clutch. And then it's 21 for 2021. And then we have the number of the clutch. So it'd be 001, 002, all the way up through 037, right? And that's as far as we got that year. If every single person that if you bought from Clutch 1, you bought a snake that year, you got a little card that says, hey, by the way, we do this hashtag thing. Anytime as your animal grows, you share it on any kind of social media or talk about the clutch or any of that, put this hashtag on there. And I'll do it too. If we get a picture of the mom up there, the picture of the dad, we'll hashtag CL21001.
What's CL stand for?
Clutch.
Clutch. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like with our African house snakes, we're tracking them too, but it's AH just for African house.
Makes sense. It's easier to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, you can share the hashtag, or you can go through and follow all the hashtags. If you want to see every animal we've produced, you don't have to take my word for it that these animals are staying smaller or whatever.
Right.
If you have 40 snakes in a clutch and they go to 40 different people, they have 40 different lifestyles with 40 different keepers. But if all of them are doing hashtag CL21001, they all can share, compare notes. They can see who bought their siblings. They can keep track of bloodlines like I have always done. But I'm just like you're asking how I found Jonathan Hoflick. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, no, I mean, like, what is it? Game attracts game, right? Like, I'm like,
no, real recognize real.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
So
I'm like, dude, those are cool. What the heck are those? He's like, those are Bantang region Sulas. I'm like, no way.
Sign me up.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So this just makes it easier to find, share, and follow.
And again, this is back when no one really gave a fuck. Like, I mean, everything that you have now, like,
but they should.
I mean, but they are. No, they are.
That was the problem. Is that
it's a force to be reckoned with at this point, and all because of what you're doing. But what I'm saying is, you are believing into something that was not even like a conversation in.
Well, it used to be like, oh, you bought it from this breeder, so you have to take that breeder's word on adult size and the different genetics and all that, and what they were. You don't have to take my word for it. You can actually go out and see everybody that ever got a snake from me.
Right.
And you can compare notes with the general public. And then, honestly, the thing is, if you want to plug into the reptile community and you follow all those hashtags from 21, like 001 through 037, you'll find every customer I have. So free tip for you, go in there, hack it, steal my customers, do what you want if you can. But good luck to you, because we make awesome animals. We care a lot about them. We have great customer service. So it's not about me hiding information as a breeder, lying to you about, like fudging the numbers on localities, or, saying the animal's going to get big, or, like lying about it and stuff like that to make that one-time sale. That's not what it's about. I want to blow the community up to where everybody has easy access to the information so that the animals have better lives in the long run.
What's crazy is like, what is the opposite of the reptile hobby is not giving information accessible to anybody. Like, back in the day, it was Mr. Who do you know? Like, if anything, you're probably getting misled information. You know what I mean? It was really cutthroat back then. Like,
with Super Dwarves, it's still that way, because I can sell you a baby retic, and if I tell you it gets whatever size you want, I can make that one sale one time.
Right.
Now, a year from then, you're going to be hurting when the animal's already bigger than what you thought it was going to get as an adult.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like this little dude, for example, you can see how it works, because he's almost a year old. He's a couple months shy of a year, but you can see we used a really small bloodline, which were the pure Carampas, about as small as they can get with that Carampa Calatoa cross. So let me show you like his, distant relative or whatever.
The Carampa?
Pure Carampa.
I mean, we're doing this kind of early, but I don't care. This is the Garrett show right now, so let's do it. Christina, I got you on that super chat in just a second, okay? Give me 1 second. We got you on that.
All right, so this is a pure Carampa island animal. There are very few adults left in the world. This is a pure Carampa, and this is about a year old. And then here is the Bantang cross, and you can see he's a little bigger than her.
Take the Bantang out real quick, and then put the Carampa closer, or other way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that way. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so busy, chaotic pattern. These are kind of cool.
Yes.
Like, if anyone knows what a Tarahumara mountain king snake is, they have like double the bands of everything. Carampas have that. So if Sulas have the best pattern ever, and these have the most pattern ever, the idea was, how do you get most asbestos? What is that, Little Caesars? Most asbestos, $6 pizza. You know what I mean? That was supposed to be this snake. But anyway, here's a yearling pure Carampa, which we're still the only ones to have been able to breed these in captivity. There's actually only one pair I know of that's outside of us, and they've never bred. And then here's our yearling male that we're trying to grow up so fast by feeding him a lot. You know what I mean? Because I want to get this bloodline into everything.
Okay, wait, hold on. So here, wait, hold on. Here we are talking to a breeder who's focusing on making the beautiful smaller, but then now you need it to get bigger quicker.
Relatively big. Yeah, hurry up and grow.
Listen, stay small, but hurry the fuck up and grow.
Grow. Well, the truth is, if I'm going to charge you more for a super dwarf, and then this is actually one of those misconceptions you hear all the time, is like, oh, if you don't feed them, they stay small. That's how you keep them small. Well, why'd you pay any more money for it?
Right.
It's genetics. You know what I mean? Like I say, feed it to stay within a healthy range. Males will breed a little bit younger, a little earlier if they've gotten a little bit more food, right? So I might be able to breed him at a slightly younger age. You're talking about Eric Lee. Eric Lee got his high percentage snow male to breed it like something ridiculous, like 7 months old. It was crazy.
Don't they call him the Snow King?
Yeah, probably.
Shout out to Eric Lee,
sponsor
the channel.
The snowman.
The only Asian snowman known to man.
He's a Chinaman. They got a lot of snow up.
Is he, bro? He's built different, bro. He's like fucking. Anyways, I love you, Eric.
Really inside, outside, and everything. The guy's heart, the guy's head, the guy's everything.
He's
Eric's
nuts.
A good dude. I mean, you can see there's not a huge discrepancy in size. Whereas if you go pull out some of the larger localities, they're quite a bit bigger at the same age. So we've successfully brought a lot of the size into this guy. He can maybe be perfected a little more over time.
Oh my God, gorgeous!
That's what it's all about.
So Carampa. I mean, dude, listen.
This is my favorite Carampa I've ever made.
Carampa is probably one of my favorite island localities right now, as far as all the retics that you work with. I would say now, but I would say Carampa is one of the most recent localities you were able to produce, right?
Well, it took me 14 years to make them.
Right. 14 years.
Yeah, 14 years I was trying to make those little buggers. So, and I spent a bunch of money on it and all that kind of stuff. And you know what's funny? So Carampas cost 10 grand a pair. And you got the waiting list right now is a couple years long because I'm still working with just a select few wild caught adults. They're not like major producers or anything.
Right.
When the captive bred generations grow up to size, we might be okay. But even then, I managed to keep like one female per clutch. You know what I'm saying? That I've produced. Not a lot of Carampas out there. So I totally forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah. So like the reason why they cost $10,000, aside from, everyone always wants to know the cost. There's a fun story behind why Carampas are so expensive.
Yeah, please.
Because that's easily, nobody had ever sold a quote unquote normal retic for that price. Not even close.
No, not even a little bit.
No,
never.
$2,500 for a pair of pure localities was a big deal when these suckers were born. I had those Bantangs that I sold after I picked mine out for $2,500 a pair, and everyone said I was crazy. And then that same year, I came out with a Carampas and I said 10 grand a pair. But you know why I did it? First, I obviously wasn't afraid to keep them all if I had to. But secondly, there were some guys that made some very cool snakes over in Indonesia by breeding a Timor python, one of your babies, to a pure Carampa.
What?
Yeah, so they made hybrids, right? Which, hybrids are funky, they're cool, they're not for everybody.
Are those are super Timors, right? Or what's
Oh, you can't call those super
No.
Timors, man.
I forget what's the name? What's the hybrid name?
Kiju.
okay, Kiju, but what do they call
Well, Daniel Solis made some and called them Super Timors.
it? Okay,
everybody
so there
that
was
worked
a label
on
at one point.
everybody worked on the. It would be he's pushing buttons over
Oh
there.
my God.
This Carampas
Come on,
messing
Caramp.
up your live stream.
You're being very crampy right now.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and he's
So no, they were called. So like, you know, if you go by the rule, first one to produce them gets to name them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think there's a thing where like American breeders just have too much ego, and so they don't recognize anyone.
Oh, you
else. So
think?
they rename everybody? Yeah. So Keiju was the real name of that project. They called them Super Timors. It worked. It makes sense in English. I mean, I'm not a drama guy or whatever, but
right.
yeah. So the original Keiju. So people saw those, they liked them. The
Keiju.
people that were into hybrids. Now, I'm not inherently against hybrids. But I mean, we're talking about there were at the time 5 Carampas left in the US that were
Right.
known
Right.
adults. And a friend of mine was trying to breed a Timor python male to one of those females. Well, you know, any possible clutch that she produces, you have to sacrifice pure Carampas to make that.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, listen, I'm not against the hybrids, but if you want to make a hybrid like Retic Timor, please just use like a platinum tiger or something, like something that you can pick up at any rescue because there's a million of them. Don't take literally the rarest locality of Retics that had at the time had never been produced in captivity and breed the female to a Timor python. Like, go make a bunch of Timors. There's not enough captive bred ones of those. Go make some Carampas. And then when you're like, I'm up to my eyeballs in these things, then okay, go ahead and make a hybrid. Like if someone makes a burn ball, that doesn't bother me. It's not like you're ruining Burmese or ball pythons for the wild, you know?
Right.
But these things are like not at all represented in captivity. So I told him, he's like, well, I think I could probably sell these Kijus for like $2,500 is kind of your standard hybrid python price, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, that's good, but Carampas cost $10,000. And he's like, what? Are you serious? And I was like, yes. Now I had never bred them at that point. No captive bred ones existed. There was zero market on Carampas because they'd never been sold in the US. So I literally pulled that number out of my butt to be impressive, to sell them to him. And then I had to stand by it to convince him, because everyone speaks that universal language of money. He's like, okay. So he ended up trading a couple of high-end retics to get himself a Carampa male, and he's been trying ever since. That's Sal from Sal Daddy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, please make pure Carampas if you have a chance. I've never made them. I don't care to be the guy to make them. I just want to see them exist.
I just got put in that position for the first time where I pulled a number out of my ass. Like somebody hit me up for a snake.
Okay.
He's been hitting me up. Matt, you know about this. This guy hit me up. Snake that went viral all off a shed. Like fucking, it was in deep blue, but it was like blue. Like I'm talking like
it looked
blue.
good. Yeah.
So this guy's like, bro, I need
totally
this snake.
misrepresenting the
blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I need this snake. I'm like, you know, this snake only looks like this like once every month, if that. Like, you know, like this isn't a common thing. He's like, let me see what it looks like without a shed. I'm like, looked at it. He's like, I want it. He's like, what? 10K. I'm like, 10K. I was like, holy shit. But you know, this is a holdback female. Like this is
you don't want to sell it.
I mean, 10K is a lot, but
up.
like still, holy shit, this female's a year away from breeding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like I'm like,
well, if you can make 20K in her babies, why?
What's the point? And if I'm a year away from it, right? So check this out.
Mhm.
So literally, you know, this guy says he's serious, blah blah blah, and I just whatever. You know, if you're serious, you'll keep talking. You know, so I let it.
You blew him off.
I let it go, right? I let it go.
Salesman number one. No, you can't have it.
So then
It's not a game, but it's like that's how you get all the big.
So I have snakes from 2019 that I held back that I was pretty confident I sexed them correctly. Well, guess what? Shout out to my boy Alex. My homie Alex came through, and I was very concerned because I had these holdback females that were going off food, and I'm like, it's too soon. Like, why are they going off food? Like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, I was like, can you sex these for me? Like, let me just, because I couldn't. My popping game on a bigger ball python is not that great.
They're hard anyway. Yeah.
So, sure enough, he comes, boom. Hemipedes. It's a male.
On the one the guy wanted.
The guy wanted 10K on. So I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? So I'm like, God damn it, you could have sold this guy. But then I was like, whatever, no big deal. Literally, my DM. This guy's like, I got the 10K ready. Hit me up. And I'm like,
and he wanted it based on looks. This was not the perfect female. Yeah, right.
It's based on looks.
And
so
those customers exist. People don't believe it.
So check this out. But by the time guess what I did after I found him was male? I paired him up, and he started locking. So he hit me up. He's like, 10K. I'm like, yo, here's the situation. It's not a female. It's a male.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He's breeding for me right now. Like he's plugging up to like 2 different females.
Yeah.
So if you do want him, it's going to be after this season. He's like, well, how much for him right now? And I'm like, oh, fuck? Like, and I was like, dude, and I was like, well, how can I get this guy to go away? So I said 15K.
Yeah.
I threw an extra 5
That's
out
right.
there. He's like, okay, if I give you 15K right now, can we split whatever he makes clutch wise? I said, sure, no problem.
I see a bunch of my patrons joining your chat right now. So let me warn you, because they know this is true. Shout us out in the comments if you've been on the other end of this. I never say no, or that there's no price to anything. Like I was like, everything's for sale, but I throw out a number that no one would ever pay, and they always freaking pay it. And I sell all my holdbacks. I'm like, dang, Forrest got one for me. Do you guys remember that giant blood python he had?
Okay, well, that's fucking Forrest. God damn it, man. He was
I
that guy.
should have known better.
Forrest is that guy.
He
to
said,
where
I want your blood python.
you could fucking you could take the number to one of those magic 8-ball things. Like, should I price this at 30K? Yes, you should. All right, Forrest, it's gonna be 30K. Sold. I don't give a fuck. Like,
No, here's the worst part about freaking Forrest Fanning. Let me tell you how bad he did me on this deal. I love him dearly.
Let's hear
All
it.
right. It's just a normal red blood python female. Now, she was just shy of 8 feet long.
Right.
She was a freaking monster. She weighed over 70 pounds. And I hear all the people calling BS in the comments right now. I'm telling you, I weighed her. I measured her. You can see pictures of her laying out. She was a freaking monster, right? Her name's Danielle. Anyway, I had her forever, and she was just my girl. You know, beautiful, super bright red, as friendly as could be, and massive. Yep. And I said, I think this is at least a contender for like largest blood python alive.
For sure.
And I used to post pictures and everything and be like, this is how big, this is how long. I measured her using this scientific method. You know what I mean? Does anyone have a bigger one? And everyone's like, oh, I remember seeing a big one once, or I had one 20 years ago, but nobody ever had one as big as her. So anyway, a red blood python, even adult female, is like, I mean, there's like cool bloodlines and stuff, but she's probably like a wild caught that's been around forever. I got her as an adult, you know?
Right.
And so no special bloodline info or anything. I'm thinking this is like maybe a $500 snake. And I was like, you can't have her. I was like, you even if I gave her to you, like the amount of money, he's like, tell me a price, pushing me. I was like, look, man, even if I gave you a price, like it doesn't
make sense to you.
It's not going to make sense. And he's like, what's the number? I said, fine, $3,000.
You
know what I mean? And he's like, done. And then immediately I was like, oh no. Why did he say
you should
okay?
have said 13.
But I'm like, I know, but I'm like,
you didn't know for it. You didn't know that $3,000 is like $30 to Forrest.
$3,000 doesn't matter to me either. When you're talking about, you literally like might as well buy my Labrador. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my dog,
my child.
Like, yeah. You know what I just didn't think anyone would ever pay $3,000 for a normal blood python. So here's the worst part. Freaking Forrest Fanning. You know they make those awesome rats over at Cold Blooded Cafe.
Right.
And you know I got a heck of a rodent bill. So I deliver it to him, and I'm like, cough up the calf. He's cough up the cash. He's like, why don't I just take it off? I'll just give you credit in rodents.
You sick son of a bitch.
Oh my God. I
came here for fucking money, motherfucker.
I just sold like one of my favorite snakes I've ever owned.
For rodents.
For like
rodents.
That's what a grown-up thing to have to pay for. Like a bunch of dead
But honestly,
rats.
bro, okay, let me tell you about
shout
out to Des.
Still hurts.
And Desiree, I'm pretty sure Forrest instilled this
Desiree,
into you.
you remember this.
But guess what? Every time I see fucking Desiree and Steven, for the most part, I mean, the Bell phase, I know you guys came out of cash, but every fucking time I see a goddamn animal leaving with them, and I'm like, I know it's thousands. I'm like, how much you pay for that? Just rodent credit.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
I need to start breeding rodents. Oh my gosh.
Just rodent credit.
We're like, it's not even the cash, you know? It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why did I do that? You know, honestly, the only reason why I went through it, I didn't tell them to pound sand, is because I knew they were going to treat her like a goddess. You know what I mean?
Put her on the pedestal.
And she was such a cool snake that nobody ever saw in my collection. It was just me. And whatever select friend, everyone would take pictures of the snake. She's a monster.
I love that snake. I was obsessed with that snake.
Actually, you wouldn't know who the heck she was if I hadn't sent her over there. So
I only know I only know her because of where she came from. For sure.
Like 2 weeks after I sent him there, Barchek went down to his place and made a big deal about this gigantic world's largest blood python. So she got a little bit of fame on it, and she gets treated amazing. So
okay, fame, Barchek. Shout out to my boy Barchek. But let me ask you this, man. YouTuber influencers, like the big ones, you know, like ones who are doing it right, ones that are doing it wrong, whatever. I mean, what's
you
your
mean like snake trap talk?
We're not talking about trap talk's always doing it right. We're not talking about trap.
No,
okay. We're talking about.
I just meant like big
we're talking about. I mean, I'm talking about the front, the leading front man, where if you type in, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I always talk about this. How did I stumble across what I'm in today? Well, I had a point in my life where I was depressed. I always knew I loved ball pythons. So I bought a ball python that wasn't a normal ball python. I didn't know there was other ball pythons other than normal ball pythons. It was a fancy.
Yeah.
So what happens? I type in like different ball python colors, right? Like I just happen to Google that, right? And what do you think pops up? Brian Barczyk's YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, killing it on the SEO.
My whole life changed when I came across this channel.
Yeah,
my whole life changed when I came across your channel. Like, Jay Prehistoric Pet, when I came across him, like, bro, there's channels out there that could just bring in people who they could even hate snakes, but the way they are presented sometimes, you can't help but to be in awe. Like, you're just like,
listen, the
holy
last
shit.
time I went to the barber, which obviously was a while ago because I'm getting pretty shaggy here right now. But the last time I went to a barber, they're like, what do you do for a living? And I'm kind of like, oh boy, here we go. Right? Here goes the conversation. I breed snakes for a living. Like, what?
Right.
And then immediately it's like, dude, I saw this dude in like khakis with this giant rainbow snake. And he's like, hey, what's up, everyone? I'm like, yeah, that's my old boss. That's Jay. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like us, my drunk uncle.
Yeah. So, but I mean, my point is like the barber had zero interest in snakes,
right?
But they're being presented with all these amazing animals from within our industry because of those guys. But anyway, what's your question?
The question is like, at the end of the day, there's some people doing it to where, like Barczyk was somebody since the gate. I was like, holy shit, whatever this guy's doing is creating, like, a good monster with, like, it's creating good hype, like, meaning like there's something good behind whatever he's doing from what I see, right? And I thought that with other people too, right? So there's a lot behind the camera is what I'm trying to say. Like, I went to Barczyk's, and this is after I saw all the hate on Barczyk, Facebook groups, all these things going on about Barczyk, where I was like, holy shit, like, is this guy even somebody I should go check out?
Right.
And I'm so glad I did, because his place is one of the most stellar, cleanest fucking places I've ever been to, like, hands down. Like, I feel like that's somebody who should be on the front part of YouTube and whatnot. But then, like, there's other people on the other end of the spectrum who aren't putting the animals first. And what I mean is, like, I've been not forced, but PTSD'd out of big retics for a certain reason because of shit that I see behind the scenes.
As far as husbandry.
I mean, whatever you call fucking snakes with no face. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen some really terrible stuff that made me realize I don't want to breed big retics. Yeah. Like, if anything, it made me realize why you're so passionate about super dwarfs, because at the end of the day, thousands of snakes sold by Garrett Hartle, but how many of those fucking snakes can you, like, link back to?
That's my dirty, filthy history, So here's the deal. Working at Prehistoric Pets, I learned more there because I had bred a lot of snakes. I'd kept kind of like everything, all kinds of weird, obscure things. I mean, I got my start. We were talking earlier, like I bred rattlesnakes because that's what I could catch outside. And then like exotics was like
all things rattlesnakes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were common.
Well, we didn't talk about when he was wrestling in Indo too, like the shit that this guy was doing, which we could touch in a little bit. But yeah, keep going.
Well, so, but kind of like a lot of hobbyist keepers, I was a serial collector and keeper. I'd buy, sell, get another. Like I wasn't trying to, I just wanted to experience everything. Right. I loved all the animals. I was like, I want to touch, hold, and feel every single one of these. So I'd have one for a while until I found a good buyer. Someone talked me out of it. I would get the next species and the next species. I never wanted to do the same thing twice. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so I had all kinds of fun with that kind of collection. And it wasn't until I worked at Prehistoric Pets where I was like, I saw the the business side of it,
everything,
being able to specialize. Now they had kind of everything, but at the same time, clearly they're specialized in reticulated pythons, right? So the power of specialization was one thing I learned. How to care for animals in a wholesale system is another thing that they learned, But the thing that I had a problem with, here's the thing from a psychological standpoint. We humans think that other people are going to be like us. Right. So I know this much about you, and then I have to assume this much about you because I haven't learned that much about you yet. Our assumptions are in this much, you're probably like me. That's why, like, wow. That's why, like, when my wife and your wife go out, you know what I'm saying? They see some other girl walking down the street. They're assuming everything that woman is thinking. and they're thinking what that person's thinking is what they think.
Yeah, this is
You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm just saying.
This is facts. Like,
I always, people are always like sizing each other up and things like that. We assume everyone's like us, and at Prehistoric Pets, that's when I learned that wasn't true, because I had big retics. But I mean, you can find the old pictures of like when I was a kid in high school where I would build out a closet or a room or whatever for my retics. And I was like, I've always wanted a retic. They are the coolest snake you can possibly own. The only thing that might be cooler to some people is like a freaking king cobra. You know what I mean? But for a non-venomous, retics are king.
You want to know something
Hands
crazy?
down.
This snake could probably be at least about a year older. It could still hang on this fucking, like, it could still hang out with us.
I could bring out a 2-year-old. They're not much bigger.
I'm just saying, though, like, what I'm,
yeah, they don't really grow.
Like, to
those
think,
Carampas.
like, what is it about a retic that becomes too much?
It's the size. It's just purely the size.
It's just purely the size.
So I sold thousands and thousands and thousands of mainland retics, thinking that everyone buying them, I mean, I would educate them. We would tell them, do you understand what this is? This is not a ball python. You know what I'm saying? And people who didn't know what they were, I didn't sell them to them. You know what I mean? I'm saying you're going to need to go home. You need to learn. You come back to me when you're ready. Right. And so we sold all those kinds of snakes, thousands of them. And I'm ashamed to say probably the only adult retics that I sold that I know are alive, I could probably count on one hand. And I sold thousands. So what happened to all those other snakes with good intentioned people? We had great conversations about them as far as trying to vet them as customers and everything else. And a lot of breeders, I think they have this mindset of like, well, I've given you all the information. So if you kill my snake from here on out, that's on you. But my thing is, when I was a little kid, altruistically, I didn't say, when I grow up, I want to produce animals that people are going to buy and collect by the dozens in their first year.
Kids don't
before
think like
they
that.
ever get the full size, and then neglect them all until they die slow and painful deaths.
No.
And it's not everybody does it. I mean, big retics are and should be represented in the pet trade forever. So hear me that, because they are amazing animals and there's definitely a place for them. But that place is not a mainstream pet keeper place. No. There's just people don't understand. And if you're thinking about buying a retic, rescue an adult. Don't buy a baby. Yeah. At least
go
for your
see
first
what you're
one.
Deal with. Yeah,
go get a big giant retic that somebody
idea.
Else dumped, and you take awesome care of it and prove to me and the world and yourself that you're ready for it. Then buy as many babies as you want,
Matthew,
because you'll understand.
Give me what you bought from Garrett and I'll hold on to it and go prove me. Go buy a big snake right now.
You can, if I could get on the phone right now. I could probably, people don't understand this. They buy a cool moor for this or that, or it was such a good deal. Or they told me if I didn't feed it very much, I could stunt it into staying smaller. The thing is, I could get on the phone right now and get you 500 retics with a phone call for free.
Right.
I mean, they're like pit bull crosses in the rescues. Pit bulls are great dogs for some people. You know what I mean? But the ones that have not been raised right, that are ornery and stuff, that are in rescues, they're going to sit there until they die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And and people are getting puppies and everything else. Like, go save that one.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, people are overlooking the ones that need help and jumping into something to where, like, you don't even know if you're even meant for this shit yet. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at least give this shit a chance at its stage where it's going to get to at some point.
Just understand the adult. That's why, like you were talking about trade show booth displays. Right. We always bring adults. And if someone thinks that they're going to get into one of my bigger bloodlines that are like the 10 to 13 foot, I take it out and put it in their hands. Right. And I'm like, how's that for you? Intimidated? Yeah. Then you're not ready. Start with a smaller one.
You excited? Then you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like, oh man, this is cool. I've had boas and I'm ready for this. Then you're fine. But it's the same in any species, though. I mean, think about like tortoises. You have like box turtles. Then you have sulcatas, which are cheaper and more available. But, like when we went to, I have a buddy that runs a pet store in Phoenix. Shout out C&B Reptiles.
C&B Reptiles?
Right. And they were talking about selling captive bred baby sulcatas in the pet store. And I said, the Phoenix Herpetological Society up the road has more than 500
Bob Ashley?
Adults. No. Phoenix Herp Society. Not Bob Ashley. I know what you're talking about.
But Bob is in New Mexico.
Yeah. You're talking about the. Yeah,
sorry, Bob.
No. This is like the Crocodilian Central. But they rescue reptiles. They have over 500 adult sulcatas up the road.
Damn.
And I was like, why don't you, before you sell any babies, he's like, but people beg me for these. I can sell them. And I was like, I said, listen, Bill, ask yourself this. I said, why don't you talk to this Herp Society, go get 1 or 2 big sulcatas and set up a cool display in your shop and adopt them out. Make an adoption fee. You'll still make money. The tortoise will get a good home and they'll be good.
It's a win-win.
He's like, I don't think I could move the big ones. And I said, then don't sell the babies. If no one wants the adults, don't sell that person a baby, because you are getting into an industry and you're accelerating the death rate among animals that are abused. And that's not why any of us got in here.
Be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Right. And so, that's the problem with the retics is only that they are too big for most people. No matter how much
because
you tell
they're
them,
big, bro. I mean, they're big for the reptile keeper. They're big. Like,
let me tell you what this is like. So I had a full-size bed when I was like a young adult, and I built it over a cage for an enclosure for a retic that I had that was almost 18 feet. She was a big girl. And I used like 3/4 inch thick glass that came off an alligator enclosure I used to have, right? And it was this giant piece of glass. This girl figured out that she could kind of like pop the glass off the track by bracing herself in between the two sides and just pushing out.
Yeah, just pushing.
This was not a tame retic. This is a big, nasty, stand up, look you in the eye, strike at you from 8 feet away retic, right? But I loved her. Her name was Baron. I actually rescued her. She was barren because she couldn't have babies.
Oh, that's fucked up.
And I rescued her from a breeder because
she was like, "You gotta name me that."
Yeah, right. It tore her oviducts out, and she survived. And they had no purpose for her anymore, so I rescued her. And she was nasty, big, nasty retic.
Wow.
Beautiful, loved her. And she would pop the glass off the track and come out of the cage whenever she wanted. So it was always a battle getting her in there. So eventually, I'm like, I'm gonna fix this glass, and I secured it really good. She sits there, braces herself up, and goes, boom. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was like in the living room or whatever, we're watching a movie, and we heard this explosion like we were getting bombed in the bedroom or whatever. It's just boom, 3/4 inch thick pieces of glass, shards flying everywhere. Snake comes flying out. She's cut, glass everywhere. I run into the room bare feet. I'm getting cut. Snake standing up.
Oh my
as
God.
excited as she's ever been. And I'm like, babe, listen, I'm going to deal with the front half of her. That's the dangerous half. But she's so big, I might need you to help me grab her tail. I said, what we're going to do is try to like push her in the closet and close the door until we can figure out what to do. And she goes, hell no, and closes the bedroom door.
You're on your own, motherfucker.
18-foot retic and runs away.
God bless you. I would have.
If you're ready for that, go buy that cute little purple albino for $300 at the pet store. But if you're not ready for that, don't do it. I don't know. Total rant. I run on it.
All right.
But the animals are worth it because super dwarfs and pushing the smaller size, they are such an amazing retic. And for me, they're a bucket list animal to own. And it was such an honor and amazing experience to keep them growing up. When I was keeping them, like I couldn't afford morphs. I had all wild caught big mainland retics that were just horrible. You might as well get a wild Nile crocodile. You know what I mean? Back in the day, this is in the 90s. Yeah. So, but it was like an honor for me to own what was such a ridiculous species. I want that same experience for other people, after me,
right?
But let them be the right people. So my penance is, can I shrink this animal down? It's going to take a lot of time, effort. I pour my soul into these snakes. You know this.
After hanging out today. Sure, yeah. But I knew this before hanging out today. Understand that, like, if you're somebody, and I'm not the only, but I mean, you have people in the comments, like people who pay attention to your content, and like, dude, this is why content's important, because I got people who believe in me just because of the way I am in my content. Like, there's some people who have a persona.
Yeah.
Like you have some people that are a gimmick.
Yeah, but you're authentic.
You're authentic though. Yeah. Like what I'm saying is, and any real human being could taste authentic through the camera.
Yeah.
And when someone's being authentic, you have ears, you have listening.
Yep.
And I feel like it's the biggest thing why people, because a lot of people keep animals aren't people. Like
sure, yeah.
But I feel like
we're a bunch of weird recluses that like animals that hate us instead of the cuddly ones that love us. Right?
But I feel like the ones who are like in that position to where like, oh, now I have people's attention.
Yeah,
it overshadows what they're actually doing. Like it's more about getting the eyes on what like me versus like the project. Like
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't even know where I was going on with that. I have to take a fat piss. So before I do that, Christina, thank you.
Team me up. I'll run it for you.
Thank you so much for your patience, Christina. But you have a I think she's a huge fan of yours, man. She's very active. But
Is that Christina Hill?
Christina Hill, yes.
Oh man, is she badgering me about selling more of my holdbacks, Krispy Kremes?
She's bad. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
and honestly, Christina,
you found me again.
Christina, you dropped $2, and I didn't pay attention to $2. No offense. $5, you got it. Okay, so here you go. Let's help Christina out. And while you do that, I'm gonna take a fat leak. Thank you, Christina, for your super chat. By the way, all super chats straight to US Art. I've been doing that since day one. So let's keep the super chats coming.
Good on you. Good on you. Yeah. So no, I mean, so like, I don't know, that's my penance. If I can allow other people to experience the joy of retic ownership without having to have the animals suffer to have such a magnificent creature, I'll do it. And that's what I never understood about retic guys. Like a lot of the kind of old school retic bros, you know, they're like, what? I don't understand. Like, I don't know. When I started my business, I did not market super dwarfs to any retic people whatsoever. I went for ball python breeders, carpet python breeders, boa breeders. And I'm like, check out this new species. It's comparable in size to what you have now, but a completely different level as far as color, personality, hardiness. They're great, you know? But the mainland guys were always like, super dwarfs, I don't get it. Retics should be big. That's the whole draw to them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't. I don't believe you. I don't believe that you can keep retics and be in love with them, and it's just because they're big. You know, if that's the case, you know, let me introduce you to my, you know, single overweight friend that can't get anywhere. You're going to love them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not why you're into retics. I call BS on that. There's lots of big animals. You can get a horse, no problem. It's bigger than a retic. That's nothing about it. It's the beauty. It's the beauty of the animal. It's the personality. Yeah, look at her just chilling like a little green tree python up there. Yeah, they're so cool. They win everybody over.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Not even a little precious little ball python noodle does this. Are you kidding me?
We have a newer employee. She's kind of like my original, like first and latest employee, because I hired her to. She's the wildlife biologist that is writing the stuff for us.
Yes.
Yeah,
What's her name?
Her name's Hadley.
Shout out to Hadley. I like that name, Hadley.
She's actually in Panama right now. Yeah. So I think she's actually going to take some content for our channel while she's down there.
Tight.
But she's been with us for a couple of weeks, and she got into the snakes. And it was like a couple of weeks later, she ended up buying. She actually bought a snake of Eric Lee's that Eric Lee produced that we had here. Yeah. So
what do you know?
Hold on, I'll show it to you.
By the way, this episode is brought to you by Eric Lee from Eric Lee.
He's just Eric Lee.
You're good. You're good, Matt. Don't worry about it.
He's just Eric Lee. So check this beautiful thing out. So this is Hadley.
Oh yeah, we're gonna show this off real quick, Matt. No, you're good. But
yeah. So this is it's a golden child, which I think is a more.
Look at the eyes, bro. Their eyes are blue.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
like
a silver,
almost white, almost blue. Yeah. So this is an anery golden child. Matt Summers is hooking us up on the production side over here. You know how cool the aneries are. I want to. He's got a couple at home, at least a couple of anery project stuff for me. But yeah,
you need more.
This is a high percentage locality bred golden child anery, 100% het purple albino, produced by Eric Lee, that he sent over here with a clutch of snakes that we're selling. And Hadley just fell in love with this thing. I think she loved it because around its eyes, you're saying like the eyes are white, blue almost. Like,
bro, it's like a blue, like a blue-eyed Lucy.
Well, the cool thing about it, even as white as the eyes are, they have black all around them, so it looks like she's wearing mascara. So they really pop.
Perfect, ladies. Yeah, perfect.
That's it. That's what Hadley was like. We should name her Maybelline.
Oh my God, Hadley, you're too much.
Yeah. So that was Hadley's, but this is an example
Maybelline.
of bringing the morphs, kind of crafting that color and everything, getting that right personality in them, and cramming them down in size to ridiculous degrees. Eric,
is that the commercial?
Generation.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Oh my God! Sorry, that just got me.
Maybe it's 75% Calato.
Meaning it's above 50. We're in a good place.
Yeah, 50 is the minimum buy-in. If they're selling it less than that, they don't care about making them small. They just happen to have a little there.
And with all, man, you know, you saying this right now, you understand there's a lot of people out there who have under 50% and don't know that. Like they're like, oh, I have a super dwarf. Like
a super dwarf.
I'm a dude.
And
yeah,
if you
you
get
know,
into the family history, it's like, well, technically my animal's great grandparent was a super dwarf. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't
We
know,
had a
man.
midget in our family at one point.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That don't mean you're a midget. If you're 6 foot, but your great grandma was 4 foot, you're not a midget.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, you're not.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean,
But yeah, you can tell by the percentages. Like, not that we never produce anything lower. Sometimes to get the new morph in, you have to, like, you always have to go back to mainland to do that.
right.
But I don't sell anything from those clutches whatsoever. I take personal responsibility for all those animals, and I offer to the public when the project is done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's done now. Here you go.
Shout to Arthas. I'm late again, but shout to Mrs. J for holding down the trap while MJ's bringing us fire trap talk. Honestly, wife, I love you so much. Hey, here's the thing, Garrett. I left on an anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're
I didn't.
such a heel.
I'm such an asshole, right? But A, I made up for it. B, I still need to make up for it.
Yeah, did you though?
C, no, there's never. Yeah, babe, I love you so much. But listen, I mean,
I don't know.
let
that
me
you
look at my
could
PayPal
ever
transactions
make up for
again.
it.
Yeah, I think I made up for it.
Oh, all
But
right,
no,
all right.
actually, no. Listen, but at the end of the day, thank you, wife, because I can tell you right now, hardest thing, and you could relate to this, man. I mean,
Well,
what's,
my wife Ashley can. Whatever you're gonna say, she can probably
but what's
relate
the
to it
biggest?
right now.
What's the biggest pain for any breeder to leave their collection? Who could look after my shit without me losing my fucking mind?
Well, especially when they're breeding. Eggs being
No, when they're
laid,
eggs!
hatching. Yeah.
Babe, she's pulled
the worst.
clutches for me. Like,
Yeah, so is my
oh,
wife.
I love you
Yeah.
so much.
Well,
Like,
just
I love you.
when we were in Pomona, I was like, "Can you go check this female?" She's like, "Well, who's gonna pull it?" It'd be, I guess, me and Aiden. Aiden is
Poor
my,
Aiden. Shout
my
to Aiden.
90-pound,
Hanging in there,
social
Aiden.
media person. That's
Fucking Aiden.
never pulled a snake clutch before, but Ashley's been there with me for dozens and dozens of them, and she's
Right.
usually playing support, not lead. Right? She's so
Right.
much better than the 18-foot retake exploding into the bedroom days.
Right.
But no, dude, our wives are like seriously good sports. Actually, we started a vlog channel that's unrelated to our, because I wanted to keep the Reach Out Reptiles channel like very educational and Superdorf based.
Right.
But we have so many fun things that we do in our lives. You know what I mean? With my family. Like I said, I always want to be a dad and a husband, right? So we show that, the snake travels, the adventures, all that kind of stuff. We vlog. After, I think it was like my second vlog video that I put up, they started Christina Hills in on it. A whole hashtag Team Ashley movement. Like,
I've already
Garrett,
seen a
you
couple
don't
Team Ash-
deserve her.
Yeah. You know what Garrett's doing? All right.
Yeah,
That's fucking.
yeah, they're like, oh, we thought you were great until we met your wife. And then we're like, hey, behind every great man is a woman like that. And she's that good. She's
But
got
see,
a
the
whole
thing about-
hashtag Team Ashley there.
The thing about my wife is like when people meet my wife, they go, "God bless you for dealing with MJ." So they already know, like, they
Yeah,
already
yeah.
know Lily's a fucking saint for
Right.
being with me still. So
Yeah.
either way,
Absolutely.
wives, all the wives out there, every single wife out there. And on the flip side, if you're the husband taking care of the wife's collection,
Yeah, it is.
I salute you
which
right there.
Actually, there's
there's
honestly
a lot of situations like that. Out
I
there.
think our customer base is 38% female. Isn't that great? That's big. That's almost half.
girl power.
Like,
you know what's
I mean, that's
I-
like traditionally completely not a female.
I'm actually
thing.
like, okay, like I didn't give a shit about like, YouTube breaks down like who looks at your stuff. And I tried to like YouTube. I don't care to make money off YouTube. If I do, great. But like, I didn't care to see like, how can I get more of the piece and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I made good money off YouTube last year. So yeah, I'm curious. Like, what is this all about?
Right.
And if it's one thing I want to increase is how many females are looking at my account. Like I noticed
You
that.
should start working out. Maybe do this with
What a
t-shirt
dick.
on.
Oh my God. Okay.
Hey.
All right, here we
Preaching
go.
to the
No.
choir over here.
At the end of the day,
You're in way
listen,
better shape than
hold
I
on.
am.
A, my wife's a personal trainer. B, this is why I should know this, but shout out to my boy Socrates' wife. So my boy Socrates' wife is visiting somewhere near, like close where we're at. And it's about 30 degrees where she's at. And I'm like, dude, where I'm going, it's like fucking 7 degrees. And she's like, good, maybe you could burn some of that fat off.
Oh,
By the way,
You know
she's
what?
one of the most shredded, fucking in shape. Like Socrates and his wife, she's allowed to say that to me. Let's just say that. And my wife could say that to me too. But holy shit, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, bro.
Well, you might get a really good female audience on here. The last time I put Eric Lee on a thumbnail, I got demonetized because he didn't have a shirt on, and they were like, "This is pornography." All of a sudden, they're like women from all over clicking it all.
Is
up.
this
Sorry,
a man or a girl?
guys. Oh
this
no,
is
no.
a she-male.
No, there was no question.
Eric, you do have really great
Eric's
skin
a
tone.
freaking beast.
He
man.
is.
No, all the ladies were clicking on that video.
I
Like, what the heck? I clicked on it. He's wearing a shirt. That stinks.
Silver Cash 86. I stumbled I stumbled into rescued ball pythons and had tons of questions and commented on old videos 100%. Brian commented back, and his next vlog was everything by far. Mad respect and whole reptarian. Okay, cool. I thought there was a question, but mad respect to Brian Barczyk. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, let me tell you this. When I went to the Reptarium, so Barczyk came to Prehistoric when I worked there, and he was doing research because he already had the whole like reptile zoo idea going down. So I kind of gave him a tour and showed him the stuff. We talked about what was successful and not and all that. And so when he did the Reptarium, I was always like, I want to go see how he brought the whole dream to life. Right. Especially because he built it like that.
Like that.
How did he do it?
Right.
Honestly, I mean, between his design and then the use of really this one product that accelerated, which was Universal Rocks, made it so cool, so fast. But anyway, when we went up there, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be really impressed by all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you, I was impressed by, you saw my trade show booth.
Yeah.
When you like look at it and you put your hands on it, you're like, oh, this isn't exactly what I thought it was. It's like a movie set. Like you could push it over.
You look behind you, you're like, it's a rack?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
right.
Fucking wait, you could move this?
Yeah.
Because you here's the most impressive thing about your setup. You walk up to it, you go, how the fuck did the like I mean, there has to be a lot of work put behind it. Like,
it looks like you built a restaurant in the trade show.
Everything looks heavy. Like everything looks like you can't move it. It looks like it's set there,
and it's not.
And
it's like it's veneers over. Like,
you could set that up by yourself in 1 hour. You said, right?
So yeah, exactly. I can set the whole thing up one person, 1 hour. Besides putting the snakes in, but at any rate, when I went to Barczyk's place, that's kind of how it is, which is perfect for him because he's, you know, I mean, a lot of people visit the Reptarium, but he's mostly in front of camera. So the stuff looks good from no matter what angle he puts it in. So I was impressed by that. But the thing I was most impressed by was his staff. I was like, how do you get people this quality? These are just great quality people. I mean, all of them were just amazing human beings that cared about the customers. They cared about the reptiles. We had people coming in on their day off to show me and my daughter around and just letting her hold whatever she wanted because Barczyk wasn't in town when I came by, and he called him and he was like, you know, just go show them everything. Yeah, exactly. They came in on their day off to do that. And it was like, it was amazing because I was hanging with them and talking, and they're like sitting here like this, listening to my daughter spew ridiculous things that 6-year-olds say. And they're like, wow, this is awesome. And they're enjoying her as she enjoyed the reptiles. And I was like, that person's getting it. That person is like, you know how the world is like wonderful when you're 6 years old. It's like you have this imagination. You're like, wow.
You're so gullible to everything. You're just like, oh my God.
And then we grow up and we get jaded. But the person that can still see the eyes, see through the eyes of a 6-year-old, I mean, those guys were experiencing the Reptarium through my daughter's eyes. I mean, they were just eating it up. I was blown away.
And that's what, like, that's one thing I protect of mine is keeping the magic happy inside of me. And I don't want to fucking go to somebody's collection who I thought was doing it right, and I see a fucking horror movie. Like, that really, it affects me, dude. Like, you don't understand, like, yeah, it is about making a living, but to me, these animals are everything. Like, it's all about the animals.
Giant reptiles, though. See, here's the thing.
Right.
You get babies, you go in with a good mind, good intentions.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
You mean well, but
then they outgrow all those intentions and your ability to keep up, especially if you overindulged when you were buying a bunch of babies in the beginning and you just can't keep up the way you'd want to.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like when I went up to Snake Discovery, that was another amazing facility. And I went in and they had maybe a 10-foot Burmese python in an enclosure. It was just an albino berm. I don't even like berms. You know what I mean? I'm like,
we know.
Fat, lazy slugs.
You're African all day, every day.
I'm African rock python, 100%. Yeah. So, but they have this giant enclosure and I could go in and sit on boulders and just hang with this berm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know so many people that have like 40 Burmese pythons. You know what I mean? Because like, I love berms so much. I got to buy them all. But then they keep them in these minimalist enclosures, which I'm preaching to the choir too. I mean, you saw our enclosures, but you also
but there's a plan though. But that's the thing. Like there's a plan behind everything that's going on. And
I still feel guilty because it's a year after I wanted it to happen.
It don't matter though, bro.
So
I mean,
we're catching up.
You're catching up. That's all that matters. But there's a plan behind the plan.
Yeah. But I was just thinking like, man, if you had went the other, 31 retics or whatever, and just got the one and put the rest of your money into this environment that it lives in, you would enjoy it more. It would be more enjoyable for you.
Right.
So,
all right, we're gonna do this next question. The homie William, god damn, this will always comes through with the super chats. But is it true that Halmahera ticks are possibly not native to Halmahera Islands, but possibly an introduced species from when the first native people arrived? God, dude, this is nuts. The first native people arrived to that island. Any validity? Sorry, I'm not a.
So
I did not graduate school. I did high school, but I didn't. Whatever. Just you know what I'm saying. God damn it.
So I mean, they all had to come from somewhere. If they're on 17,000 islands, I don't think they individually evolved on each of those islands, right? I mean, retics have spread. They're massive. They're very good at colonizing. But I don't know anything about, in particular, if the Halmahera locality is like that, Willem. But I will tell you this. People in Indonesia definitely use reticulated pythons as pest control. So what they will do is bring retics with them to new places to clear out the rodents so that they get, oh, thanks, dude. So that they can live a healthier lifestyle. And that has been, you know, I think there's a lot more studies that need to be done on like the genetics and ancestry. But there's a lot of theories in the scientific community, in the different papers I've read and people that I've talked to, about the spread of retics not being from, say, rising sea levels or, you know, or kind of like drafting or something, you know, what do you call it? Rafting to new places and stuff like that. But they are actually intentionally spread by humans with the intention of populating those new islands. So it's very possible. And I don't know the complete, you know, I obviously like retics have so much more. Oh, Hadley, your snake is taking off. Oh,
is it going?
Man. Oh, all over the place.
Wait, it's not the Carampa,
You got a paper towel or toilet paper over there? This one got me bad. No, the Carampa, your equipment is dry.
Here, wait,
It's
Carampa
just my
snake?
pants. I peed myself. I blame the snakes. You know how it goes. But this nice leather.
Not fucking do that to
This
you.
nice leather, man. I didn't want that to get ruined. Naughty snake.
Take that out of
Man.
that's cut.
Come on, Maybelline. What are you thinking?
Come on.
I haven't potty trained them yet. That's the next generation of selective breeding. Breed the potty trained ones that don't pee on you. You're going back.
What do they call it? Urate training?
Urate training.
That's proof how much retics pee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But okay, good thing. Imagine a fucking big retic doing that. We'd be in a puddle right now. Like we'd be swimming. He would have to change his pants 110%.
I don't really have to imagine it, but that's all right.
Because you lived it.
I've experienced that one first. Oh, I'll tell you a fun story. So Baron, I had her up at this like public campsite for a while because I had her for years. And I lived this place. And when I brought her back, she laid the most perfect log. There were no urates. This thing was as big around
All black.
as like a coffee can, black, solid, gigantic turd. It was like 18 inches long, as big around as a coffee can. I was like, this is a perfect poo. As I think I was like probably 21 at the time. I was like, what can I do with this poo? This poo is too good to just throw away. So I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. And we had these like campers. This is a campground that would host like 500 kids at a time during the summer. And so I grabbed the poo and I wrapped it up in paper and I carried it like a little baby up to the public bathrooms. And I stuck it in a toilet where I like jammed it down the hole and it was like coming all the way up and it was like sitting over the edge. And then I got on my radio and I was like, yeah, housekeeping concern up in the, the amphitheater bathrooms. Could somebody go take a look at that? And then about 5 minutes later, the housekeeper calls me. He's like, Garrett.
We have a stuck child in the.
No, he just goes, Garrett, please come to the amphitheater bathroom immediately. And I was like, oh, this is so good. So I ran up there and I saw it. And he's just staring in disbelief like, oh my gosh, what happened to the human that deposited that thing? And he's just like, his face is white like he'd seen a ghost.
Right.
And of course, I just cracked up laughing, but he still didn't know it was a joke. I was just like, I don't even know how to react to that. It's making me laugh.
Right.
And I was like, bro, I don't know what happened. He's like, I don't know. I needed someone else to see it because no one would believe it. And I was like, that thing almost doesn't even look human. And he's like, no, dude. He's like, you don't understand. These are fourth graders. And I went over there and I was like, well, let me help you with this. And I just palmed it and picked it up. And he's like,
my
Because
God.
you know those of us with snakes, like I don't know,
Oh
you
my-
grab snake poo, doesn't matter. I got it all over myself already. Right.
I
now.
mean, if it's one
so
thing,
I palm this thing, and he's just like, whoa.
this is like,
It's the best.
okay, like the,
Sorry, Bernard.
So the one thing that was my biggest headache when leaving my collection was like, I trust somebody to take care of everyone but the bigger ticks. I don't give a fuck how long I'm gone, leave them alone because I don't want nothing to happen.
Yeah, right. It's a liability.
Yeah. It's funny. Eric said this. He's like,
Well, you just said your dad got like 17
yeah, my dad
stitches
with
from
me
one of them.
there. Like, this is me
Yeah.
present, like when
Right.
that happened. But
That
it's
wasn't
funny.
even a
Eric
full
Lee's
size.
like, yeah, he's like, I'll be gone and I'll have someone take care of my collection. And I tell them if they need water, just put another water dish in there. Like,
Yeah.
don't even go in there and get that.
Yeah.
Just put a new water dish in there.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is, it's like, dude, I used to fucking. Well, I already knew coming home, I'm about to walk into a room that's a cesspool of fucking piss, shit. And I'm saying I was only gone for 5 days. That's all it takes.
It's
That's all it
retics
takes.
are. I'll tell you what. If there's one thing that makes them a terrible pet, it's that they
what comes out of
love to go to the bathroom.
And right
They're
after they
there
go to
with
the
the
bathroom.
indigos.
Right after
and
they go to the
get
bathroom.
50 pounds. Yeah.
They go to the bathroom when they want to go to the bathroom.
Well, they like their own smell. So when you clean them, they're like,
Nah,
this
it's too
ain't
clean
good.
here.
And it's
Collection
done.
line. Nah,
Yeah.
not my thing.
No. Now, you know where I used to find them? Anywhere I used to find them in the wild. The only place you could predictably find a retic instead of like happening upon one is like these caves that were like you're ankle deep in guano.
Right.
That's
Which
what
you
they
there was
love
a
it.
you guys
It's like
you
you
and
can't
Cusco
breathe.
did all this shit and you guys went deep. Yeah, I don't think Forrest was a part of that. Forrest was a pain in the ass. I think he stayed back in the hotel.
No, I wasn't there. Barchek and Brian Cusco.
Oh,
went.
okay. I thought you were.
What
on that.
happened was I told him how to get there. I said,
Oh, you
"There's
gave him
this
the map.
place."
You gave him the map. That's what
right.
it was. Okay.
I had like a napkin, like one of these.
Literally.
And they were like, "Hey, we want to find retics in the wild." And I was like, "I don't think you understand what you're asking. They're not like, it's not an easy snake to go find."
Yeah, they're not chilling.
And I said, "But there's one place I know that you can go where there's only one place in the world I know you can get. I can guarantee you'll find a retic." And the locals call it Istana Ular, which means the palace of snakes. So actually, there's a legend that at the back of that cave there's a solid white retic. And I always try to get in there, but you go so far and you'll die because of the air.
what
the
you
air
breathe.
is bad.
Yeah.
You need oxygen and everything. So I could never go back. I assume it might have been.
But wait, do you think there's equipment that you could have that could get you back
The
there?
problem is, like, even if you could, do you want to go? Because there's certain places where, like, professional spelunkers maybe, but there's places where you got to go through this hole that you barely fit through.
But what if you had the guy to give you all the equipment and everything? Would you still do it? You, Garrett, you had all people.
Not married, no kids,
Okay.
maybe. Because I mean, it's like, you're risking your life to get back there at that point. But anyway, yeah, I wrote down on this. I was literally like, okay, you start in Labuan Bajo and you go up the road towards Ende. And then there's this dog leg tree and you turn off and there's like a dirt road and there's some locals there. And if you get down there, you can, you know what I mean? And it was just this ridiculous thing. And I remember Cusco telling me, he called me from Indonesia and he goes, listen, we're down to this trip. We're short on time. Barchek is with me. We're either going to go to Komodo or Istana Ular. Now, I prefer to go to Istana Ular. And he goes, but what do you think? And I was like, bro, go to Komodo.
Please
like,
save yourself.
Freaking Komodo dragons in a national park.
Like you're
You know what I
guaranteed to
mean?
see Komodos.
Yeah, you can eat ramen noodles. It's fine. You go to Istana Ular, you're going to be hiking around the jungle forever. And I don't know if you're going to
Make
even find the cave, let alone the snakes.
Right.
There's this giant bat cave. But yeah, they went and they found it based on my napkin directions.
But
and
they had somebody leading them to it, right? Like they
Well,
didn't,
they
they didn't
fa-
go solo, right? They
No.
gave the map to somebody.
no,
and
they went. They were asked, like, they went along the way and they hit this village that's kind of like
closest to it.
their territory or whatever is.
But they had someone from the
encompasses
village
it.
guide them. Like they had a guide,
Right.
right?
And
Yeah.
he went up and he's like, no, listen, now I didn't go with those guys. I didn't
Right.
do any of this, but like they're like, oh, you got to bring the chief with you and he's going to do a blessing
Get
before you
blessed.
go in the cave and all this stuff. So, yeah. So they found it. He said he probably wouldn't have found it without it, but I don't think he actually tried.
I remember
My
Barchek.
napkin directions were good, man.
I remember Barchek talking about like him being in a position where they didn't know what the fuck was being said. Like the head tribesman like pulled a machete out. Like
Yeah.
it was like it was a position where like fuck like
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn, it's pretty risky situation to be in if you're not from
Maybe.
that area.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the Indonesian people. I think they're great. So yeah, sometimes people over there eat other people, but
Who am I to judge?
like, I don't know. You just you just
Oh,
went in Rome. You
So let's
just
talk
roll
about
with
the crocodile human eating pit that you Talk about that a little bit.
Some
There was a pit.
Yeah, so some people might remember this is actually in Singapore, which is this tiny little state at the very bottom of mainland Southeast Asia. And so they used to have a reptile park. I'm told that it's not there anymore, which is unfortunate because it was a pretty crazy place.
Sure.
But it was like, if you can imagine like Tom Crutchfield's place, but in Southeast Asia, where everything is native. That's what it was like.
Roaming around.
Yeah. So I went there and it was like understaffed when I was there. So I went in, they have kind of like the big thing with the little ticket window and no one's in there. And I'm like, hello, is anyone here? And I couldn't find any staff members or anything. I was like, well, that's weird. I said, I guess I'm going to go in. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to, I want to buy a ticket, but if I get stopped, I'll buy one, whatever. So I'll just go in. No other humans in this place except an Australian couple. And they had this like petting zoo of green iguanas. So like, I don't know, 100 green iguanas, big ones in this tiny little area. And you can they have like big baskets of lettuce so you can feed them and everything. And these Aussie guys, I mean, like it's a green iguana. Like, I don't know, I had 1 million of them. They're $5 each out here, right? But to the Australians, they're like, no, we don't get, these are crazy. Look at these giant. I remember seeing these in 1920s dinosaur movies, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Right. So they're wigging out with these green iguanas and talking about how cool it was. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess they're cool, but I just been around too much. I said, what I really want to do is go play with those crocodiles. And they're like, well, we do have those where we come from and you don't play with those. And I was like, well, I've never been to where you come from. And I think I do want to. And they said, and they're like, you're going to die. And I was like, well, I have a camera.
Prove me wrong.
Let me ask you a favor. Record this while I go inside and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And I'm thinking these are fat, lazy zoo crocs. The one thing I did notice is that there's like all sizes and even a couple different species in this pit. Right. And there's like 40 of them. So it's a little pit where like, you know, the sides of the wall are about this tall, maybe 3 to 4 feet. And then there's a little tiny fence of 3 to 4 feet high with a little chain link fence. And the gate was open. And there was like this fatty wad of keys sticking in a thing where someone had like used the keys and taken the padlock and set it on the side and the gate was open. So I was like, I didn't even have to jump.
Oh, sweet.
I didn't even have to jump the fence. Later, I saw a t-shirt that says any zoo is a petting zoo if you're man enough. You know what I mean? And I was like, that was this guy.
Oh my God. Any zoo's a petting zoo if you're man enough. That
was me. Nobody's looking. Hold my camera. It's
wow.
Like, hold my beer moment, right? So I jump in there. Now I had to like, in my defense, I had crocodilian experience with American alligators and caimans, right? But I'd never messed with like a saltwater crocodile. It was mostly what was in there. So I go in there and there's like this 9-foot, super fat looking little croc, and I pet it. This video is online, by the way.
There's people out here saying that video was legend. Like,
yeah,
people already know.
Everyone is like, is that Kurt Cobain? Who's that? Jesus? Oh, that's Garrett Hartle. Because I had like the long hair. I'm like 20 years old or whatever. So I jump in there. I pet this like 10-footer. He just chills. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I knew my time was actually running out because as soon as I got in, all these crocs were like splashing in the water. And then they circle around, they come back, and they're like lining the shore. Like, what's going to happen? Is that guy going to fall in? We want
food coming.
We want to eat this guy. Yeah. And they're all just watching. And I saw this big girl. She was, I don't know, the people that have seen the video. I estimate she's probably 12 to 14 feet, right? Big girl.
And that's a big animal, dude.
These are big saltwater. These are not. I mean, they were like captured in the wild and kept in a zoo for a while. So.
And the reason why I emphasize that's a big animal, because the first time I ever saw a croc that big was at Miami Zoo. We went Ryan, shout out to Ryan, but he took us behind the scene. And I saw what a fucking 12+ foot croc looks like.
Yeah, they're big enough for you to fit in their mouth, I found out.
Easily. No. I'm talking about me. Like a fucking, I'm 220 pounds.
I was there. Yeah,
dude,
I fit. So anyways, I go and I pet her, and she spun around and made 2 passes at me. And people who are listening to this audio won't be able to see this, but like I had that slow motion moment where the jaws are coming towards me, and I'm like, oh no. And it was like being in the dream where you're in a fist fight underwater and you can't move fast, but the other guy's
everything's happening. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is me. And before I knew it, she was on me. I still had my arm extended because where I was petting her in the leg, but now it was in her mouth with her top jaw open, not snapped down, but above my arm, her bottom jaw below my arm. And she's passing through and like my arm, my shoulder, and maybe a little bit of my head was in the way. And I'm looking down the throat of this Nile crocodile. I remember seeing the teeth, and I'm like, that tooth is 3 inches long. You know what I mean? And she's making this pass. And I remember thinking, I was like, okay, I'm inside the mouth, but they can't see inside their mouth. I'm just having like rational thoughts.
I don't touch it. They can't get me.
She made 2 passes at me in a quarter of a second total for 2 passes when I reviewed the video. I know that because I have timestamps. Anyway, she's going through, and I could only just move my arm like a couple of inches. That's all I had time to do. And I remember thinking, as long as I don't touch any part of the inside of her mouth, she won't know to snap down on me. So she made a full pass right past me with my arm, like I could have tickled the back of her throat, and she didn't snap down. And I'm telling you, she was on the edge of the water with all these other crocs lining. If she had felt me, and you know what I mean, I'd have been in that water and in pieces in seconds. So here's the best part. The Australians are like, oh my gosh, you know, and finally a zoo guy shows up. I go out. Of course, I had to pet one more crocodile on my way out because I was like, you know, I grew up kind of cowboy. My dad's like, you get back on that horse or you'll be scared forever. So I'm like, oh, I got to go back to that little 10-footer, the nice one, and pet him. You know, so I pet him, and then another crocodile came and sat in the way. And I had to like grab that one's tail and scoop it. Yeah, because it was blocking me from getting out of the gate. So I had to like scooch him out of the way and get out. And then I was like, oh, the adrenaline hits you. Your knees are shaking and everything. Then later the zoo staff goes up, and I was like, yeah, so what about these crocodiles? And he goes, oh, yeah, this is actually one of the great things we do at this park is like, these are crocodiles that are livestock or man-eaters that have been troubling their villages all over Southeast Asia. So and we travel and we capture them, and we put them in this pit to give them a second chance instead of dying. And I was like, this is like a pit of literal man-eating crocodiles.
This is after you went in there.
This is after I got out. He told me.
Hold my camera.
The best part was, so I told you I taught cross-cultural communication. Right. Here's a lesson for you guys listening. The difference between Western and Eastern philosophy, right? I show this video. 100% of humanity says, you're freaking crazy, right? You're nuts.
Right.
But the Western people, so the Australians, the Germans, the Americans I show it to are like, I can't believe you went in a pit with crocodiles, you idiot. You show it to the Indonesians and you're like, you let someone else hold your camera? You idiot.
What the fuck? That's so expensive.
That's what they say. They're like, they could have walked away. You were, you know, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, different perspective. But yeah, all my Indonesian friends are like, I can't believe you're letting someone else hold your camera right now. You know what I mean?
That just shows how they're built in Indonesia. They don't give a fuck about what animal's going to eat their children. They want that iPhone.
They're like, you let me hold my camera. It's your fault that I stole it.
So you said something to me on the trip over that like it imprinted in my mind, like enough to where I'm like, I have to bring this up. And because it's important, you know, US ARC, constant fight, you know, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately.
Sure.
As far as people who want to make a big deal out of nothing. But there was a point in time where stuff came to a stand in your own hometown and you had to stand up and fight for it. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like what you did as far as the laws that you
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely can't take full credit for this one. But basically a couple of years ago, see here in Pittsburgh, the laws are wide open. There are no bans. And unfortunately with the legislation, they're like, if it doesn't work, ban it entirely. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. Yeah, easy, can't we just like, you know, outline who the crazies are and let them take care of it? So we can have venomous, we can have crocodilians. You can go to a local show here and buy a black mamba. Everyone thinks it's cool. I'm like, that sucks, man. You should not be able to buy something like a mamba
I agree.
Any venomous snake as an impulse. I'm fine with people owning venomous snakes and crocodilians, but you should plan it and have to go talk to a breeder or something, you know, at the very least. So anyway, it's a little bit of a crazy situation, but I do like the freedom. I mean, Pennsylvania probably has the best reptile laws in the country. One of the big reasons why we moved here. So every summer, some moron gets an American alligator, and you know, a couple years later, 3, 4, 5 years later, it's 4 feet long, and they turn it loose in one of the rivers. I don't know what kind of jagoff does that, because first of all, you know it's not going to survive the winter.
Right.
So you're killing it.
You're killing it off.
You're just not accepting responsibility for killing. I mean,
you're being a true piece of shit.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, take it to a rescue, do something. You know what I'm saying? There are places you can go to surrender animals like that. Or even a better situation would be kill it yourself. That's better than turning it loose to die slowly when the cold weather hits. You know what I mean? You guys are here. It was -4 degrees last night. No alligators surviving that. Anyways, because of this problem, and then there was like 4 or 5 alligators that were found this summer. And then there was a cobra that was found in an apartment complex, right? From someone keeping it irresponsibly. So the media got a hold of it. It was going crazy. It was in an uproar. They were going to ban everything.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no, here it comes. Because the truth of the matter is we all like to talk about what happens on a federal level, but the local legislation is way more relevant to our lives. Everybody should be figuring out, just go to City Hall, sit in on some meetings, introduce yourselves. You know what I mean? Hand out some business cards, especially if you have something like a YouTube channel where you're like, hey, check this out, Senator. I'm a local snake breeder. I know that's kind of weird or whatever. I just want to let you know that I'm here. We're conducting business in a responsible manner and people are in your town. So they're talking about these bans and all this kind of stuff. We have a guy, shout out to Tom Kelly, who puts on a local reptile show, that went to this City Hall meeting and really put in a ton of the legwork. You know, he passionately presented his case, all this kind of stuff. But I'm friends with Phil Goss from USARK. You know,
Shout out to Phil.
USARK.
Oh, I know who Phil is.
Oh, Phil is the man. Everyone should know who
Very
he is.
dreamy motherfucker.
By the way, if you guys are listening, you're not a member of USARK, please go do that. I mean, it's
and you know
really
what's crazy?
a grassroots thing. You guys
It's so
gotta
easy to
support
where
that.
you could just go down to the description, click on the link, and just read about it.
Yeah.
Because if you're keeping reptiles and you don't understand what USARK is, that's a problem.
Even if you don't have reptiles and you're like, this Garrett guy's crazy, I kind of like to keep that crazy alive. Just go give him $5 and you'll help us out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, Phil reaches out to me about the legislation. I talked to Tom Kelly about it. Tom actually brought the city councilwoman to his local trade show booth. And we have kind of like this big, fancy, legitimate trade show booth. So he wanted to introduce them to somebody that had like a good guy, polished reputation, somebody who's doing it right. Right. So he brought it over to us and introduced me to the city councilwoman who's responsible for writing the legislation. I talked to her about all the things that could be a problem with an outright ban. Again, figure out who your target audience is. In this case, there's a city councilwoman who doesn't necessarily want to ban reptiles. That's not why she got that job.
No.
But she's got the media and the public breathing down her neck,
Right,
other
on her
council members,
bumper.
and then a bunch of special interest groups jump on that stuff, man. All the animal rights groups, like the crazy activists, not people who care about animals, but people who hate humans. You know what I'm saying?
Or hate their life.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean,
But those guys are all breathing down her neck, and she had to write some legislation. So I talked to Phil. He actually was able to, like, I don't want to go into the whole process or whatever, but coordinating with Phil, we were able to get some recommended legislation that worked well for reptile. Because I don't want to see these alligators being dumped. I think you're an absolute waste of human life if you do that. You know, who's keeping venomous reptiles in a apartment and letting them go? What is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? That should be like, if I'm getting into this, I have to do this to the umpteenth degree, you know?
And this is like, unfortunate about this, Garrett, no matter how fucking good you are at leading by example, which you're really good, man. You're one of the best. There's humans are just piece of shit people, bro. I mean, there's just like, I'm honestly, based off how the majority of people take care of dogs, reptiles, whatever. I hate to say this, but a lot of us humans don't deserve to have these animals because we don't take this shit serious enough. And I'm not saying as a whole, but if you dig deeper, man, and this is crazy. I'm talking about, I've come across keepers who were keepers and they still don't take care of their shit.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. And you know what pisses me off, Garrett, is there's people like you, there's people like Barczyk who stand up for their shit, but yet you have other people who aren't on the same page as you guys. And that's what frustrates me, because like, as much as you rather not talk bad about anybody and you rather like, hey man, let them do them, they still have an effect on what you're doing based on being a piece of shit.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you fundamentally.
Please,
and
please do.
I understand entirely what you're saying, and nobody likes to, like, nobody hates animal abuse more than I do. Here's the problem with society today from my eyes. Well, there's kind of two things. The first thing is we're disconnected from nature.
100%.
My logo is my slogan is Bridge Between Worlds. And my original logo had the city of Pittsburgh, where I'm from, a bridge, which we're the city of bridges.
It made sense.
And then the natural world. And my business, I wanted to be the bridge. I wanted to connect people back to nature, because it's impossible for you to go outside and look at a little animal in the wild long enough and not fall in love with it. It's amazing. You know, you hear sayings about, like, we're kind of pathetic as humans. Right. You hear sayings about what was that? I think it was G.I. Jane. There's a movie quote where the guy said, you know, a bird will fall dead, frozen off of a branch without ever having felt pity on itself. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, animals, that's just a bird. You know what I mean? Like, animals are so cool. And when you look in their eyes, you were looking in the eyes of Hadley's snake earlier, and you're like, this thing's amazing. It's got mascara, and it draws your heart in. We're supposed to be a part of our natural environment. And we remove ourselves to the point where we become numb to it. And that's animals, whether it's a dog, an exotic animal, or whatever. It's not that people want to cause suffering. It's that they're numb to it. They don't understand it. So,
but they're so quick to draw to that option versus, like, because, bro, if tough times happen.
Listen, just practice. Next time you go down the street and you see a homeless person, sit down with them for a half an hour. You don't even have to say anything.
So true.
Just sit down next to them for a half an hour.
That's so true.
And see what happens. It's impossible to be empathetic if you connect yourself.
You know what's crazy? I've done that, but, like, really fucked up. Like, I've done that like on the way after a club, like, you know, like literally I'm on my way to the after party and I see a bum. And I've literally, like, then gave that bum the time of day and just talked to him. And that literally, like, changed. Like, you know, it's funny. It sobered me up. Like, I was just listening to so much. Yeah. They have so much to say is what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah, they do.
Talk to somebody like that.
Well, and the thing is, if you're cool enough, the animals have so much to say without ever saying a thing. You just have to be able to, like, stare them in the eye and figure that out. But here's the deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think you're a piece of shit if you let your alligator go in the river.
Oh yeah.
But I've had an American alligator before. I rescued one, and I mean, I've got the crooked thumb and the tooth mark where it went in or whatever to prove it. And I will tell you, I have almost never felt more connected. I was trying to save this sick alligator, and he hated humans. Right. It was winter in California. It was too cold. I put a bank of lamps up, and it was really warm. But I had this moment where I was like, he was to the point where he was so stressed out to see me that he wasn't going to thrive. Is
that lawyer rescue that we're talking about?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So it was about a 7-foot alligator. Hated humans. I was 16. And I put this bank of warm lights up, and I was like, I need this animal to get used to me, to accept my presence if he's going to be not stressed out when I try to feed him, because he wasn't eating and he was dying of starvation. And so I laid down under this bank. Like, I'd seen pictures of alligators laying in piles with humans on the shore before, not with humans, with piles of each other. So I was like, I'm going to lay down like an alligator and bask. And I'm stretching. I'm like, oh yeah, it's warm over here. This is nice. You know, taunting my alligator, and he's standing up and hissing and whipping his tail and everything on the other side of the enclosure, which was about 15 feet away. And I laid down. I was like, this is the good life. And then I pretended to go to sleep. And this is what he did. He came over. He took like a side step closer to me when he could see, like, oh, it's warm over there, right? Takes a side step over, stands up and goes, you know, and I didn't react. I just pretended to be asleep. You know what I mean? And he goes down, and he takes two steps closer, stands up, goes, you know, and I was like, I'm ignoring you. I can't even hear you. After that second one, he walked all the way over. It was like 10 feet, just struts across like an alligator does, laid down, pressed his body up under and alongside my body, and laid his head, which was longer than my head, over top of my skull.
Just to rest.
And just laid on me like a pillow.
And I was like, another alligator just like to cuddle on. Or
just like that. And I just pretended like I didn't care at all.
Cool, yeah.
This is the alligator that had broken my thumb like 2 weeks earlier or whatever. Jesus. And hated humans. And I was just like, as a 16-year-old kid, this is so awesome. He's accepted me. You know what I mean? And I'm laying down with this alligator.
His friend.
And I was just laying there I was so excited. I was trying not to do anything so he didn't like bite and tear my head off. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm just basking with my abused American alligator. And it was, I can't explain. I felt a level of connectivity to that animal that most people think, oh, alligators, they crazy. Venomous snakes, those terrible. But these are living beings. You know what I mean? And I felt like a connection with that animal that if you've never done that yourself, you will never understand it. And that's why I always like the venomous and crocodilian. So there's a space for them. There's educational purposes for them. There are scientific purposes. And this is what I told the city councilwoman, Darlene. We worked out legislation. I listened to her problems. Her main thing was that the animals were housed properly and that we wouldn't endanger first responders, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
You're running in a fire to save somebody and they got a house full of venomous snakes in cages that have collapsed and burnt and broken open. And now there's
melted
all kinds of random exotics. Right. And they're thinking the volunteer firemen are gonna be killing themselves trying to save you. And so what we did was we came up with legislation. We addressed our concerns. We said all the animals have to have appropriate housing, and we left that open to interpretation. And you can bring experts in court and stuff like that if you're trying to persecute someone from improper housing. And then we said, and you need to post signs. They made like little stickers on your door
and all
that you have venomous animals in the house, and you have to contact your local fire, police, and EMTs and let them know. And they create a little registration. So there's no permit process. There's no crazy thing that can't be enforced. It's just keepers have to be responsible for what they're doing, and then they're allowed to have it. And we got that legislation passed here in the city of, it was Allegheny County in the city of Pittsburgh. So yeah, it was cool. But anybody can do that. The thing is, like,
anybody could do that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so here's that, like, go back to retics or whatever. Everyone's afraid of legislations and bans and stuff like that. And the thing is, like, our legislators, they don't know. So you're going to go from wide open to, oh my gosh, this is a problem. We should ban it entirely. And it doesn't need to be that way. We as keepers need to hold ourselves accountable and bring up that level of understanding. So the people that you're talking about that have like make you throw up with their husbandry or whatever, talk to those people. Tell them your concerns. Say, listen, you're my idol, man, and I love you. You know, if you just go out there, here's the thing. We're talking about people's intentions. We all judge ourselves by our intentions and others by their actions.
100%.
Right. So you think I'm a good person, even though I'm doing the same thing as you are, but I know better. Like you just said that my intentions are to upgrade all my animals. I got a stack of 20 enclosures over there for upgrades for everyone to even bigger and better cages.
There's a lot.
We got a lot of stuff going on over here, but those are still my intentions. That hasn't been completed. So I feel bad about that because I'm not to that level yet. And some of my animals need me to be, and that's on me. And I gotta claim responsibility for that. But what you can do as a human being is talk to these people and say, listen, you know, I'm not some internet troll or whatever that just hates on everything. Like, you know, people love to take things out of context and jump all over them on the internet. That's not the way, guys.
They wait for that.
Yeah, you're the jagoff if you're that. You're the troll. You know what I'm saying? But if you can say, listen, I love you. I love what you're doing. I want to tell you this one thing that you're doing, or like, what's this main issue? That comes across to me like this, and not that I deserve it or that you have to explain yourself to anyone or whatever, but for me to keep my faith in you as a human being, is there any way that you can explain the context to me that maybe I'm missing so that I can feel better about you? Like you were saying, Barchek, you're like, oh man, there's so much drama around him, all this stuff, which is really undeserved. And you met him as a person, you saw his stuff. You're like, this is totally a bunch of trolls. And I can completely discount it now because I know it myself. And I found that to be true for him as well. Yeah. But if someone is out there and they're doing something that, you know, like I'm a content creator. People jump on me as trolls and stuff. They say stuff like that all the time. But, you know, one thing my high school football coach told me was like, hey, listen, it's hard for us to be self-aware. And if you're not, you'll never improve. The best thing that you can do to find out how you're doing is ask people who hate you, what's up? And he said, if they hate you and they're saying something like, oh, your name is Hartle and that rhymes with fartle. They're grasping at straws. That doesn't say anything about you. They're just an idiot and you just walk away. You don't have to defend yourself. You know, my Indonesian buddy told me a saying that goes hand in hand with this. He says, a wise man isn't bothered by a dog barking, which is why I never address those people online. A bunch of barking dogs, you know.
Well, there's a saying too, like butterflies don't associate themselves with flies because they're from shit or something like that.
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's
something similar
it's
to
the
that.
same kind of thing. But like, if you're a wise man, a dog's barking at you, you're like, well, of course he barks. He's a stupid dog. You know what I mean? But on the
look
other,
at that dumb dog just
that's
barking.
his nature. You know what I mean? He's a barking dog.
Right.
But if they say something, even if it has an ounce of truth in it,
right,
that reflects on you as a way that you can prove, then what you do to disarm that person is say, you know what? Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
and then you walk away, and then
100%.
you go fix it. And that's how you grow as a person, and you can turn your enemies into your greatest friends, and you will grow and exceed anybody out there because you can strip aside the practicality of what they're saying from the defensiveness that we jump into. We're like, no, I'm a good person. Judge me by my intentions like I do. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, yeah.
So I have a wrap-up question before we get into the hot seat questions, okay? Might be a long one, but I mean, I really want your full,
Okay.
you know,
Sure.
want the full fucking Hartle on this.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I got another snake for eye candy.
I had a situation just happen to me recently, and I'm so proud of it. I had my first super dwarf clutch ever.
Oh, yeah. This is pretty sick.
But I've also had my first ball python clutch before. And the excitement on this over a ball python clutch, I can't tell you how fucking, like, I have nothing against ball pythons, but hatching something like this means so much more than anything I've ever hatched out before.
And this is a dwarf retake from Andrew, right?
Super dwarf.
Super dwarf.
50% super dwarf.
Sick.
Kalatoa,
Yeah.
right? Platinum head ornery.
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew. Love you. But how can we make breeding ball pythons more exciting?
Well,
I'm dead serious because listen, there has to be a way to pay attention to certain projects more importantly than just it's a morph and we want to make money off of it. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm serious. How can, based off somebody who's so dialed in with locality projects, in your perspective, how can we ball python breeders make this more of a fucking interesting thing versus just breeding another morph and making money off of it?
You want me to tell you the truth?
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna take a piss
mean,
when you do it, but yeah, because I don't want to hear my ball python.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I ain't got nothing to do with this.
Well, first of all, I would say that part of the reason why you're excited breeding having a pile of eggs from a super dwarf retake, we pulled out a little motley snow boy here, is versus a ball python is that, first off, you realize you've done something that not many people have. It takes a much longer time to grow up a female retic than a ball python, and they are a species that not that many people have really bred in captivity in comparison to ball pythons. Whereas, like, my cousin had his first ball python clutch, and he's was 13 years old. So, congratulations, you did what a 13-year-old can do if you bred a ball python. If you bred a super dwarf, I mean, not that they're particularly challenging to breed, but where everybody falls off is the follow through, right? It's the hardest thing is just having a plan and following through. And when you've done that, it shows a sense of maturity and all that kind of stuff. But
is it over yet?
No, I was just saying, like, if you bred ball pythons, you've done what lots of people have done. Beer bottles in the back. If you bred a super dwarf retake, you've done what very few people have done. So you're probably excited about that. Wow. Here's the thing that I would say to you personally in this moment, MJ, and this is the truth I hope you can hear from me being a troll.
Listening.
If you are not as excited about your ball pythons breeding, then you're failing to realize the individual value of the life of that ball python. Damn. You see it as a morph, an investment, or a project that you have to do to follow through or whatever. And your retic is probably like, that's your girl. You know what I'm saying? You guys have been through stuff. She's bitten people. You've worked through this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so that brings you a sense of purpose and fulfillment when you work with an animal like that you have a relationship with. And I would question why you have ball pythons if you look at them that way. Damn. And it might be time for either A, get rid of your ball pythons, or do a little gut check and see why you don't care about your snakes that much. I mean, that's what I would say, because a ball python is still an animal.
It's still an animal.
It deserves your love and attention. And if you are feeling that disconnection that we were talking about earlier from them, then you're not in the right frame of mind to be breeding that species, in my opinion.
You know what's crazy, Garrett, is there's people, I still look up to them, don't get me wrong, but people in the ball python game that hit a certain rough in their life, maybe in the last year, that want to get out. Like, they're done. And that's crazy. Like, to think, like, as much as I'm like appreciate what the ball python game has done for me.
Yeah.
If for something were to happen and I'm not either selling ball pythons as good as I am right now, or something were to a rut in the road, it wouldn't be something where I'm like, I'm getting rid of everything. You know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, it's like ball python people, even ones who've been doing it for a long time, if it comes to the point where they're not making the money they want, they'd rather just dump it and say, fuck it. because I'm seeing it. Like I'm seeing people wanting to throw the towel in right now.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, how are you wanting to do this? You've been invested for so many years. You're gonna let this fucking Joe Schmo who's been in this for 2 years, continue your legacy that you just want to just fucking throw in the towel? Like,
yeah.
And I feel like because there's no real purpose behind, and the reason why I brought ball pythons is because right now it's all about the money, and that's okay. Like, trust me, why do I keep ball pythons? It brings me money. But at the end of the day, if that money's not coming, I ain't gonna sell my ball pythons off.
Yeah, but okay, so it's like, here's the thing, like all we do at Reach Out Reptiles is dwarf and super dwarf retics, because I have a mission for that. You know what I mean? I have a vision for it. I love the animals, and every clutch that's laid, I'm so excited about. And so why are you doing ball pythons if it's just for the money? I mean, I make money doing what I love, and the animals benefit from it, and the market benefits from it, and other people's animals benefit. Wait till we get these enclosures done. You know what I mean? That we want to try to like raise the bar again. Right. So I would say, like, dude, breed your freaking Timor pythons. You love those, and they would make you a lot of money.
I'm trying. That's
14 years to make a Carampa. It's sitting right there. You also for 14 years.
You also told me,
don't come crying to me.
But hold on, you also told me to throw a Timor to my retic, and I said no. I fucking won't.
Good for you.
Because, but
yeah. No, I. So just to play the devil's advocate, the one thing is, I would say, it depends on why you're getting out. If you're just like, hey, I didn't make money on this and it's not what I thought I'd be, I'm out, then yeah, we're probably better off without you.
And we're okay with that.
Go ahead and leave. Yeah. Right.
Check you later.
But on the other hand, there's no shame in somebody saying, I'm overwhelmed in life right now.
Right.
And these are living beings that rely on me, and I can't take care of them. I can't even take care of myself. Then you should be out. You should get out, because that's what's fair to the animals. Find them good homes and leave.
But Garrett, let's be real. How many people have reptiles who can't even take care of themselves?
Well, okay, but here's the thing. A lot of times having the responsibility of taking care of another animal
a better person.
Is like, dude, if you're battling like depression and stuff like that,
true.
Sometimes you're like, I hate myself. I don't even want to get out of bed, but my animals need me, and they bring you through one more
I'm a living case of that, just so you know.
Yeah,
I hated myself.
I
hated myself for so much, but my animals is what made me felt like I was worthy of something.
Yeah. And so here you are.
Deep.
I mean, they're
and my wife, babe, you definitely made me feel worthy, but when there was times where you didn't want me around, the animals always wanted me there.
Yeah. No, I mean, people in our lives feel like down or sad or things about that. But sometimes it's like just a moment to moment thing, and like whatever kind of hope or glimpse you can reach out to grab onto to get through that day. It might not seem fair that it's your wife one day and a snake the next day, because the two don't compare. But if that's what it took to get you through the day, I'm sure your wife loves you very much. I'm sure that she would be like, thank God for that snake today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm serious.
100%.
So,
okay, listen, I had a wrap-up question, but I don't, because guess what? We didn't talk about the fucking house snakes. We did not talk about the tin-cased, beautiful snakes, because at the end of the day, we're raving about super dwarfs. Garrett loves, like, he's into things. We didn't show the African rock python, which, I got to hold her. But there is something
anytime soon.
There are something we want to show off here that I'm a fan of. And I want to talk a little bit more, and I want to know why you're into this. Like, what is it that drove you? The house snakes.
They're a quirky little species. They're very similar to the super dwarfs for me. This is it's either a hypo or a blue eye. I thought it was a hypo and a hatch, but blue eye is in the mix too. And now that it's getting wider and wider, I think it might be a blue eye. But and a regular. These are both capensis. So there's a bunch of species. There's a bunch of localities, and there's a bunch of morphs. And I'm running these guys like I run. Nobody was doing this in house snakes, but I was like, that's a 50% KwaZulu-Natal locality,
right?
T positive albino or whatever. And I'm just having fun with them. They're cheap snakes. They're easily accessible. They're fun. So this is our random. This is not really a spot for African house snakes, but I will tell you this: there are a bunch of imported house snakes. Don't get those. Go get some captive bred stuff, because there's some really nice stuff out there. If you're looking for way more of like a true beginner's species, they're tiny, they're cute, and you can do all of the fun things that you can do with a super dwarf with these. They're just way tinier.
Shout out to Brett Bender. He nailed it on the fucking T.
Yep.
Little berms.
Don't
But
say
cooler.
that, Brent.
Sorry.
Yeah, little African rock python.
Little African rocks. Yeah. Way to go, Bender. You fucked that up. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
man. Berms.
Shout out to Benny Bender.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Just a random pet species that I have.
You guys like them, and we got like way too many of these, but I'm in love with them.
There's definitely another species, which I already
Little
asked you about
boogers.
this. I don't understand why there isn't some now, but it's goddamn my mission of mine. But Timor pythons, man, like
Yeah.
Timors are relatives to the retics.
Yeah.
Am I
Well,
right?
you told me you were gonna make me one with bright green eyes.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew. I'm gonna be before you. But no, I'm okay. So Timors. I mean, one thing that drew me to the Timors is I don't want to say similarities as far as looks, but the attitude, like, I don't know, they're more kind of like get the fuck away from you type of thing. But Timors are amazing, man.
They're incredible.
They do get up to 8-9 feet. They can get decent size.
If there was a caveman version of Superdwarf retics, they would be them. They're like raw and prehistoric, and oh my gosh, I love their head scalation.
Yeah,
I just can't get over it.
It's intense,
I can't get over it. Yeah, Timor pythons. So they're actually Malaya python. They're in the same genus as retics,
and they're not on Timor Island, actually, right?
Oh, that's what I've heard. Yeah,
right. It's funny.
But you know what Timor means out there is just east.
Right.
So there's an island called Timor, but it also could just be like Eastern Python.
East Python.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, but anyway, yeah, they're a really cool species, horribly underrepresented as captive breds in the industry. But they probably, I mean, I don't know. Even if you were like 4 or 5 generations in on captive bred Timors, which by the way, nobody is, please somebody nail that niche because it would be cool.
Prove them wrong.
I don't think they have the pet ability of the reticulated python. I think they will always be like a specialty animal just because of the way, like nobody wants a snake that when you like pick it up, it pees all over you. Like they're kind of hard to handle. Like they don't like I don't know if you guys noticed, there's a Carampa chilling on his mic this whole
Carampa
episode.
on the mic.
And she's just chilling with them. You know what I mean? Like Timor pythons don't really get to that point.
That ain't happened with the Timor. I don't care how. I will claim to have some of the most docile Timors in the United States. They don't do this.
Yeah, docile is not it. It's just their relatability
calmness.
to humans. Yeah, and like retics enjoy hanging out with you, and Timors like tolerate it sometimes
until they're over it,
and then they musk all over you. So,
so
that for that one reason. Now, I think they are a way cool species. I'm totally in love with them, but I don't have any because why would I? I don't want a wild caught pet Timor anymore. I don't have any interest in removing an animal from the wild and putting it in a box for my enjoyment. If it was captive bred by like you or my friend Andrew is trying to work with those, Andrew Acevedo, all that stuff, or anybody, then it had no impact on wild populations. That's a cool pet for me.
Right.
But Timors, like I said, they're so underrepresented that I feel like if I did have them, I would have to like try to breed them just to displace some of the wild caught stuff.
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to go straight to the hybrids before you actually.
Oh no, I have no interest in making those. Like, so I actually talked to Daniel Solis had some of those the Kiju or Super Timors or whatever at Pomona, and I told him, I said, you know what, I wouldn't be against having a male.
Right.
I think the male is cool. If you want to sell that, let me have that because I've got females. Like technically, if you're working with like a super dwarf, let's say a platinum tiger, it's already a mutt.
Right.
That's not pure locality. You're not doing any kind of conservation work with that animal. You can't even pretend to do conservation work with that. So it's already a mutt and it's just there to please people in the pet trade. I wouldn't mind breeding a male hybrid to some kind of a female that is completely irrelevant from like a preservation standpoint. I have no problem with that. We're making weird captive bred snake. What's the difference between that and that snow I had out earlier?
Right.
There's no difference. They're just pretty looking mutts. So fire away. But what I would never do is spend like a pure Superdwarf female on a hybrid project or a pure Timor female on a hybrid project. I'm not interested in that.
Right. So. But I mean, because with all due respect, a Timor retic hybrid is not found in the wild. Like that's.
No, but to me, they're a less interesting hybrid. Like I love like burn balls. What the heck? An Asian clade and African clade python made viable offspring. That's insane from a scientific aspect. That just tickles my brain. You know what I mean? Or like you're talking about like green tree pythons that have been bred into like ball python hybrids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or I saw a blood carpet cross. What the heck? That's
Right.
so crazy to me. That's kind of interesting. I'm not like a huge purveyor of hybrids or whatever, but if you are going to make a hybrid, you better do it well. You know what I'm saying? And breed a rattlesnake to a gopher snake, like we talked about. Do something crazy. Being in Malaya python, it's about as exciting to produce a hybrid from those to me as it is to breed like a Sumatran short-tail python to a red blood python. You're like, you just made mud. Both parent species are cooler.
What's crazy, as much as my mind's wrapped around the Timors, I felt like there's a bigger destiny beyond the Retics and the Timors, because let's be honest, you're at the trap barbecue and you left a little bit of stainage, a little bit of blood stain, and I made this very clear.
Your scrub.
The meanest. I told this to everyone, about 15 people in this tiny room. Garrett was the one. I'll hold it. I was like, this is the meanest fucking snake scrub I've ever held, ever had. You fucking went on it and you took the bite. No big deal.
Yeah.
But dude, scrubs, man. Like, where's the scrubs at with you? Like, do you ever see scrubs being implemented into the Reach Out Reptile program at all? Or shout out Silver Cash, by the way, for that question. He did drop $1.99 super chat, and I was like, no. Then he dropped $50, and I was like, okay, yes. So this is for you, buddy. This is for you.
Go USR.
Yeah.
Actually, when I started Reach Out Reptiles, I had a bunch of scrubs.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, probably like 20 of them.
But like all barnacks, look, what did you know exactly? What
I had barnacks and Wamenas.
Okay.
Like the bigger, cooler, flashy. I'm a contrast guy, so I had those. But the reason I had them, I had this massive collection and they were all wild caught because nobody was captive breeding them. And I thought that they were such a cool species, like the Timors. It's like, somebody please do this. And I always have this weird burden of responsibility. It's made up, but it's my personality defect. Where I'm like, if something is cool and no one's breeding it, I'm like, I have to do this now. You know what I mean? To show people how cool they were. But then you have people, like Steven is freaking killing it.
That's a scrub king.
David Means got a lot of my scrubs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Andrew Acevedo is actually breeding scrubs. He's got locks right now.
Dude.
That's my female. Did you know that? The female.
No, he did not tell me that.
That's my female that he has.
Fucking Andrew.
It's not mine anymore.
Let me tell about Andrew Acevedo. Andrew's one of the friends. It's where I remember I sent him my first chondro lock. You know what he said to me? Yeah, but they don't mean shit until there's eggs. Guess what? Eggs came. Eggs came, right?
Okay.
Eggs came, right? Andrew, there's eggs. Yeah, bro, but you still have about 50-something days until anything comes out. But all I gotta say is, anytime I was so excited to show Andrew something, he fucking shut. And he has a reason to, because he a lot of it doesn't matter until they come out. But you want to know what the fuck? You want to know the one thing Andrew was raving about when he just came to visit?
Yeah.
Showing pictures? A scrub python lock.
Yep.
If I were to show you a lock, Andrew, what would you do? You'd probably not even respond to it.
That's
but
funny.
At the end of the day, I love seeing excitement out of Andrew. Andrew doesn't get excited about much. No. He's a fucking cold stone. Like, I have a
ice flowing through his veins.
I'll show you. I won't do this to you right here, but I'll show you the caller ID pic I have of Andrew. He's a 6-year-old Andrew with a big bass. Like, he just caught this hugest bass, and the look on his face, he's like this. Not even impressed. Like, he's probably mad it's not big enough for him that he just caught.
Funny.
But that's Andrew Acevedo. So what I gotta say is, to see him excited over scrubs, like, dude, he's pumped up, dude. Like, it ain't good for you, bro. Honestly, I'm rooting for you, Andrew, because at the end of the day, man, you've been doing this for a fucking long time. And I will say right now, all this, the passion with Super Dwarfs, the passion with Garrett Hartle, is because of Andrew Acevedo. Andrew broke anybody I look up to this day, to a T. Forrest, you, like Cody Bartolini, everything came from Andrew. Like, I'm telling you,
Andrew makes me feel old. You know, I reached out to him. He's like, I can't believe you're talking to me right now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, when I was a little kid, I used to watch you on YouTube with Super Dwarfs, and I was geeking out about snows. And he's like, I was like a child, and you were at Reach Out Reptile or Prehistoric Pets talking about, here's an anery and an albino and a snow, and they were all brand new. And he was like, that's what I want to do someday. And then when I moved out here closer to him, I hit him up like I did with Eric Lee. And I was like, you're cool and you're doing cool stuff, so we need to be friends. And he's like, what the heck? And
then you got him in front of the camera for the first time.
Yeah, but I was Andrew Acevedo's Sesame Street, apparently. Yeah, he didn't want to do any interviews. I was like, you got to do an interview. You know what I mean? He's like, you got me into this. You inspired me back in. And I was
I know Summers will get this, but what a guy.
Yeah. I view him as a peer, and he's like, no, you're like my elder, like a really old old respected version of
What's
me.
crazy? He's like
I was
my
like,
elder.
thanks, Andrew.
He's young. He's younger than me by like 10 years. And Andrew's like my elder.
Yeah.
Dude, I've come to this guy so far into my head, like pissing, like just bitching about the most stupidest shit. And he'd be like, yo, get the fuck out of your head, bro. Like, if you're bitching about something that hasn't happened yet, you shouldn't be in it. And, one thing about Andrew, like, God bless him, is like, he told me everything that come with the chondros. He told me everything that come with imports. Like, if you're buying from this importer, things are going to die.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, because I have a freezer full of it.
Yeah.
And if Andrew didn't paint that kind of picture, even though I knew what I was getting into, and still, like, even when I went through it, it was tough. But man, I owe so much to people like Andrew, because Andrew doesn't want to put himself out there. He's so just like behind the scenes. He's like an Eric Lee, but
Yeah, right.
I don't know. But the thing is, like,
Lee from Eric Lee.
Eric Lee from Eric Lee.
Yeah.
But either way, like, these are all like branches root that started from like a root that you planted, basically.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I feel like the Reach Out Reptile Army is growing by the day. And what I mean by that is you have so many people who back up what you're doing, to the point to where, like, it's not, I don't want to say we're safe from the fraudulent activity, but you do have people out there willing to stick up for your shit and say, that's not a fucking Reach Out Reptile snake. That's not so-and-so. Because I've seen it. Like, I've seen the Facebook pages. I've seen people try to be like, fraudulent with their ads, but you do have people really standing behind what you believe in. And I feel like that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. So
Yeah.
thanks for the recognition. And thanks for, the world's coolest reptile podcast. I'm just like, it's like my first Super Dwarf clutch right now. Like,
This is crazy.
I made it. Yeah, I got a big building and a bunch of retics, and there's a Carampas sitting on your mic. But now is the moment, and you guys are hearing it live. Reach Out Reptiles and Garrett Hartle has officially arrived. So thank you for that.
And Carampa, thank you for being on the mic.
There you go.
But we got hot seat questions. They ain't gonna be able.
Oh, I thought
it's
we were
it's
done.
gonna get
All
hot.
right,
Here we go.
all
So take a good swig,
Let's do it.
because a lot of people like to explain themselves. And the thing about hot seat questions, I don't need an explanation, man. We got to get to the next one as quickly and hot as
mansplaining.
possible.
All right,
So you ready for these?
let's do it.
Hot seat questions for Garrett Hartle. Coming in hot. You ready?
Yeah.
Frozen Thought or Live?
Both.
God damn it. There's one or the other, Garrett. You can't do both. Like, it's easy to say both. That's such an easy answer.
I think you should. I think you should do both.
But let's just say God came down and said, you can't keep snakes unless you pick one or the other. What would you do?
Frozen Thought.
Okay. A cut or no cut?
Ooh,
Oh my God, he's going to be bad. Oh my
I
God.
can't explain. All right. I'll say no cut
No cut? Okay.
preference. I cut all of them, but no cut.
Red Chondro Neo or yellow Chondro Neo?
Yellow.
Yay imports or boo imports?
Boo wild caught.
No,
Captive bred,
it's one. It's okay. Situational. Garrett, it's up to you to let imports come in or not. What would you do?
Let them come in.
All right, perfect. To spray a snake or to not spray a snake?
Spray like with
Mist.
water.
Like mist, yeah.
Yes, that's
Okay.
stupid.
All right. Some people say no. It's weird.
They're stupid.
Pre first shed meal or post first shed meal?
Post.
Okay. When it comes to incubation temps, straight bake or no straight bake?
What do you mean?
Like,
straight
would
bake?
you adjust it? Would you adjust the temps at all during a certain point?
No.
Okay.
Straight bake.
Straight bake. Okay. Sports or no sports?
Sports.
Favorite sport?
Football.
Favorite football team? The Steelers.
The Steelers.
Okay. Favorite Steeler player of all time? Oh, I gotta hear this one because my mom's a Steeler fan.
Jerome the Bus Bennett.
Oh, the bus,
Yeah.
dude, good one.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I love the Bus. Yeah.
Good
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah. He's my hero.
Big flexor or no flexor?
No flexor.
Oh my God, Matthew, Matthew. What happens when you go to a Reach Out Reptile booth at a show? You bite snake. That's flexing. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
That's just Matthew's weakness.
You should have just got the hoodie, motherfucker.
I didn't even flex. He walked away with a snake.
Steak or fish?
Fish.
Favorite fish?
Walleye.
Worst place to get sushi?
Anywhere in Pittsburgh.
No, any place in Indianapolis, dude.
Yeah,
Okay,
same thing. Midwest. Stay out.
yeah. Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Van Halen.
Yes. Dr. Dre or Snoop Dogg in a fight?
In a fight, Dr. Dre.
True. Snoop Dogg, you're too lanky, bro. West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
West Coast. Come on.
Favorite West Coast rapper?
Oh gosh. You got to ask Rob.
I'm asking you. Phone a friend. Hey Rob, what's your favorite rapper again?
We'll go Snoop Dogg since
All
I said
right,
he was
okay.
losing a fight.
Okay. little word association. First thing to come to mind. Substrate.
Coconut.
Stuck shed.
Soak.
ICAP.
Pull it off.
Day 60.
Ball pythons.
Milk.
Venom.
Cocoa.
Fiber.
Instagram trolls.
Oh, I had to dodge that one. It was a name.
Oh my god,
Nah,
I was hoping for the name. That was a good one.
I'm not gonna just shit talk. But
You know who you are, motherfucker. Okay, listen. If you had to get rid of one platform forever, and this is a big one because Garrett is popping on both. If you had to get rid of one platform forever, I mean forever.
like for the whole world,
it doesn't matter.
Cancel it.
It's gone. Facebook or Instagram, which
Or
one?
Facebook.
Woo!
Toxic.
Damn, toxic. You fucking nailed those. That's it. You did it. Listen, Garrett, I can tell you right now, we had over 100 people consistently throughout this whole 2.5 hours. Mad support, mad believers, mad lovers. What do you have to say to all your supporters out there, bro?
Honestly, I love you guys. Everybody that's been following and stuff, I don't really deserve it. I just say, like, if there's anything you see that I like that I'm doing, go do it. Do it better. Elevate it. If I've raised the bar in the industry in any way, I want to see you guys get it to the next round. If there's something I can do to help you, let me know.
And that's it. And guys, this is coming from somebody who he's not a complacent motherfucker. Like Matt, I mean, wasn't it giving you anxiety how many ideas this guy had? Like, you understand.
It's fun though, right? Seeing the tour of the new place.
I love it
and
because
hearing it.
I'm in a place where I thought this was already I thought Garrett was already ready to go with what he had. He's not. It's not even a little bit done.
Just wait.
And just wait, right? And all I got to say is just wait for the round 2, because guess what? I will never do an interview with Garrett unless it's in person. So the next round will be in person.
You got to come back out here.
Right here at this facility. May not be on this floor. We don't know.
It'd be cooler.
Bro, there may not even be a roof above us. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen
Yeah.
the next one we're here, but guess what? You're going to find out right here on the Trap Talk. I appreciate you so much, Garrett. Thank you for inspiring me so much. I appreciate it so much.
I love you, bro.
You have no idea what you mean to me, what you mean to everyone else out there, but
Hey, listen, if the wife and the snakes aren't ever doing it for you the next time, you call me. All right.
damn, there you go.
Keep you going one more day.
I did tell my wife it don't work out with you.
You're here for a reason.
If it don't work out with my wife, then I'm going gay.
I did not mean that.
I'm just over with women. If it don't work out with my wife, I'm fucking done. But it is
man.
gonna work out. That's my one and only. Guys, please, before you guys dip out, hit the like button. We had over 100 likes. Thank you. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you for all the fucking super chats. Thank you for all the support. But we're signing out, man. We're out. Thank you so much. Tap in next time. This is MJ, Steak Draft Sessions, and we out. See you next time.